Boom, 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 bam, bam, ba! It's me, Wick! Ha, ha, ha! Welcome, everybody. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Yes, later than usual. Wick, you're going live at 7:30. That's a weird time. Well, I got a show at 8 for you. Gibbs, I'm going on his podcast. He invited me, my graciously, because I am a gracious man. Accepted. And so it should be fun. We're going to be talking, as I understand it, about tariffs. And I, my dear viewers, am here to defend the concept of free trade. Not just from a results perspective, not just from the perspective of results, but from the perspective of morality. I think that free trade is a net good in both of these areas. It has brought wealth to our nation and the world. It has raised the standard of living across the board for everyone. And I think that we do not do ourselves any favors by engaging in protectionist policies such as tariffs and other such practices. And I will be talking about it tonight. I have countless examples of tariffs that have gone wrong, from Bush to Obama to Trump to Biden. And we'll go through it. We'll talk about it. Tariffs can work. There have been occasions where it has, but there's always a cost. And I think that the risks outweigh the rewards, and we'll be talking about that tonight. Zero Fucks, nice to see you. Welcome to the show. Hello. I know it's an odd time, so people will straggle on in when they get here. Again, the show's not till 8, but I wanted to talk a little to you guys beforehand, because again, I never know what to expect when I go on other people's shows. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. I've been on Gibbs' show like once before. It was pretty good, but you never know. So I'll talk to you guys a little beforehand, right? First of all, I guess, how was everyone's Thanksgiving? Who's on the panel? It's going to be me. Admiral Gibbs will be there. And there's a couple others. Tyler's going to be there. I don't know the other guy. Non-Fawn, I don't know him. Pentuple, I've met him once. Those are the people I know that are going to be on there. I don't know, again, whose side anyone's on. I'm just getting there. Generic plays. How was your Thanksgiving? Did you get any yummy turkey? Any mashed potatoes? What's everyone's favorite Thanksgiving dish that they had? I'm a stuffing guy, okay? I love stuffing. Stuffing's delicious. I like the consistency. I like the flavor. I'm glad to hear it was good, General Plays. I'm glad to hear it was good. I'm glad that you're doing well. So, yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, okay? And what would Thanksgiving be without a little family drama? It wasn't political, though, so we had the traditional family fight, right? But it wasn't about politics, so we're there. But I don't know. For whatever reason, my family can't go on a holiday without someone getting upset. It cycles who's upset, right? Like some people are much more likely to be the person who is upset than others, but everyone takes at least one turn. Let's see. Intense Complex says bad business deserves to be financially penalized. What do you mean by that? And by whom? Who gets to decide it's bad? And who gets to punish them and how? It's a good questions. Crime and unethical behavior shouldn't pay as much as it does. That's what government is for. Well, I don't disagree, but I'm gonna maybe give you a little bit of knowledge here. Tariffs create, embolden, and enrich unethical behavior. Do you like lobbyists? Are you a lobbyist fan? Money in politics, do you like that? Is that something you're a fan of? Tariffs increase all that, right? Because what happens is companies will hire lobbyists who go into the government to lobby for exemptions to tariffs. And they will cozy up and buddy-buddy to whoever's in charge of enforcing the tariffs, imposing the tariffs, which in this case is the executive branch. Congress doesn't need to be involved in and isn't usually involved in passing tariff legislation and things like that. That's not how this works. So what will happen is a lot of people will get buddy-buddy with the whoever happens to be in charge, apply for an exemption, and spend a lot of money on that person to try to get that exemption passed. It's corruption. That's what tariffs create, corruption, a culture of corruption. But we'll get into it. I've got some examples for you. We'll talk about it, okay? So, yeah, it's an interesting concept. Like, do you not think that let's go to Trump's 2018 tariffs. And I hate to really kind of give the game away too much because, again, we're going to be talking about this on the panel coming up. But there were companies that were able to get exemptions from his tariffs and kickbacks, right? Well, not kickbacks. That would be framing it a little bit. Certain corporations and certain groups received financial, what's a good word for it? Not rehabilitation, that's not the word. Recompensation for Trump's 2018 tariffs. A lot of people didn't, right? You had to be in his good graces. But some industries did, and some people did. And we'll talk about that as well. Cart Knight Popcorn Lung says, fuck Europe, we wouldn't have tariff otherwise. Anyways, peace. I mean, maybe. Wolf of Gar says essentially a tax return. You'll have to elaborate that on a little bit. I mean, the European Union imposed tariffs right back at us, right? Like, you guys familiar with the trade war? What a trade war is? That's kind of what's happening on occasion with these tariffs. I'm not against tariffs in every case. I think that we can see that there are some occasions where we might want a tariff and some occasions where the benefit of the tariff outweighs the harm. The thing about tariffs is the thing about like all these kinds of agreements. There are winners and there are losers. Who pays the cost? And is the cost they pay more than the benefit given to those who benefit from it, right? No more Chinese fake titties. Are you gonna put a tariff on titties? A titty tariff? How does that even work? So a 50% titty tariff. So there's only like one titty. Is that how that works? I think that's funny. Also, Wick, do you care about the environment? We need to stop being a throwaway society. Buying new should have never become cheaper than repair. Look, again, there are some benefits to protectionism, but they largely, the cost is far worse. And I have data for this that we'll go through. And it's not just about Trump, right? I'm here to defend free trade. Okay? That's my goal tonight. I am a free trade guy. I think that we need, I think that free trade has the fact that we are here today and able to put food on the table is in large part due to free trade. Okay? The technology that we have is in large part due to free trade. The average income of literally everyone, Like the standard of living for literally everyone has raised, and this is at the feet of free trade, right? Free trade is what has made us into the economic powerhouse that we have become, right? So we get away from free trade at our peril. We have examples, and I will go through them when we get on the panel about how when we have tried protectionism and the costs that we have borne when we have tried that. But yeah. Free trade, free speech, free religion. Amen. Exactly. Yes, I do remember when the Democrats were the party of free trade. NAFTA. Do you guys remember NAFTA? Clinton's baby, basically. NAFTA was good overall. NAFTA helped us overall. There were some losers. There are costs and benefits to everything. But I think NAFTA, again, you guys remember the 90s economy? How great that was? And it was amazing, right? We, for the first time in forever, were paying back like our deficit, right? We had a surplus, a budget surplus. Things were great. Again, wasn't perfect. There are costs to all these things. But this kind of like economic analysis that you need to do for these kinds of things. One of the problems is that, much like anything else, you can pick a data point, hyper focus on that data point, and then point to anything being great or terrible, right? So you can pick a industry which lost jobs from the period of 94 to 2014 and say, look, NAFTA was terrible. This industry lost jobs. But then you look at the overall economy and notice how the jobs lost were more than overcome by the jobs created and gained, especially the export industries, right? And yeah, it doesn't look so bleak anymore, does it? Dragar99 says free trade is good, but I think the free trade may be something we cannot keep with the advent of cheap sea drones. I don't know much about sea drones, to be honest with you. Okay, I can't speak with sea drones. What do you mean the silence is uncomfy? Do you not like my silence? I don't know. Like, I'm mostly just kind of getting my thoughts in order before the show. Okay. The Wolf of Gar says, do you think people should substitute tariffs for duty? Since most people have experience paying some duty on things they are importing from other countries when on vacation. However, while they understand that they pay duty, I still see people thinking the country pays the tariffs. Well, I the term I like to use, and it's not entirely correct, but I think it drives things home a little bit better, is an import tax. It is a tax on the thing that is being imported into the country, right? And that tax is something that businesses pay, and they offset that cost to the consumer. And again, it's not all businesses that pay this. This is the trick to it, right? The only businesses who pay are the businesses who aren't able to lobby for an exemption to the tariff, which you better believe they're doing, okay? Right? So if you are a business and you cannot afford to lobby to get an exemption from these tariffs, you're going to pay the cost, but your competitor, big corporation, is not. And it makes it much harder for you to compete. Much, much harder. $50 from Grassroots Hegemon. Counterpoints. Got all my Mossad money today, but yes, I'm a fan of money and politics. So are most people, whether they know it or not. Poor people are more invested in politics than the wealthy. It's why wealthy people are the revolutionaries. You are going to have to elaborate on that one, okay? I appreciate the $50. Thank you, sir. But you're going to have to elaborate on that a little bit. I might agree with you. I might not. It depends where you go with this, okay? So it's one of those things where, like, I don't agree with taking all money out of politics. Like, you can't ever donate to a political cause. That'd be silly, right? Or you can't make like, for example, I think the Citizens United decision, and this might be a hot take for you guys, but the Citizens United decision was largely correct, right? What Citizens United was a group of people wanted to make an ad, basically, make a political ad. So they got a bunch of money and they put together the ad and they want to air it in support of their political views. I think the specific ad was an anti-Hillary Clinton ad, if I recall correctly. I think that's perfectly reasonable and allowable to do, and you shouldn't face repercussions for doing it. I think it should be allowed. If you and your bros want to get together and put out a political ad, you should be able to do so. Philosophical Zombie Hunter says Dems saying pro free market rhetoric was not on my bingo card this year. Look, if you go back to the 90s, Democrats were very free trade. Okay. Bill Clinton, all them. Oh, sorry, I'm just adjusting, gang. I have a little bit of I don't know. I'm getting old, okay? I'm getting old. What are some examples of big corporations getting tariff exemptions? We can look at the steel industry, and we can look at the 2018 Trump imports. Let me get my data up here, and I will give you specifics. Well, here's one. Okay, so the Trump administration back in 2018 approved almost half of the requests to avoid steel tariffs. So corporations, I can't list them all out. There is a lot, but they imposed a 25% tariff tariff on imports of steel products and 10% on aluminum ones, and about a ton of companies applied for exemptions. Trump picked almost half to allow exemptions for. Almost half did. More than half did not get them. That's an exemption. That's an example. Yeah, everyone's calling me right wing, but I'm not. I just believe in liberalism. That's not a right wing ideology. Not really. That's just a liberal ideology. Gang, I'm kind of a liberal, okay? I'm a little more progressive than most liberals, but I'm a liberal at heart. That's not right wing. Again, I think concluding postscript on my Twitch chat said it pretty succinctly. Free trade, free speech, free religion. The three pillars of freedom in a society. And it's something I believe in. Generic play says, I don't get it. What is Wick saying? That's right wing? I'm not sure yet. Right? Look, there are some more traditional right-wing institutions, such as the Cato Institute. Okay? It's a very right-wing institution, but it echoes a lot of my sentiments that free trade is good, right? You are going to lose all three? Who's going to... What do you mean I'm going to lose all three? I hope not. I really hope not. Give me a second. I'm waiting for them to give me a link, by the way. So what's going to happen here, because I'm going on someone else's show in about 5 minutes, maybe 10, depending on how timely they are. They're going to send me a link. I'm going to click on that link. It's going to take me a moment to set up the OBS to work with that link. So there might be a period of time where you see a black box, okay? Do not panic. Do not go away. I am old and dumb in the ways of tech. So it's going to take me a little longer than it will a Zoomer or some teenager to get it up and running. But I will get it up and running. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? I promise you. Nair Sock says Justin Trudeau is at Mar-a-Lago right now bending the knee to Trump. Trump is playing 4D chess versus the world playing checkers. What do you mean by bending the knee? Simply visiting the next president of the United States isn't bending the knee. I expect all the world leaders will at some point want to meet with Trump. That's why I push back on a lot of the lefties, lefties who said that Morning Joe guy, right? Joe Scarborough, I think his name was. Morning Joe, the guy who does Morning Joe. Him and his co-host went to visit Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and a lot of lefties were insanely mad at them for doing so, saying, they're bending the knee. That's not bending the knee. It's meeting with the next leader of the United States. You might not like the guy. You don't have to agree with the guy, but he's going to be president, and you should, it would behoove you to check him out and talk to him, okay? Do you have a link to the list of companies? I might. Give me a second. This is... Hold on, does this have a link to the companies? I'll find it for you. I don't have it at my fingertips. I don't have the full list here. But here is an article about it. How's that, from the Washington Examiner? That is what I have. You can click on that, and thus begins your self-discovery journey. Okay? And you can check and see. Yes, my teeth got fixed, though it's not entirely done. This is a temporary. On the 6th, so that's next week, Friday, that's when the actual crown comes in, and it'll be stuck on. But yeah, it's fixed. Done. So yeah, you can check it out. I will provide that link in to Twitch chat, too. Because you Twitchers, you deserve love. Okay, oh, give me a second. Hold on. This is what I mean by being bad at tech, okay, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Am I going into one of these voice chats? Okay, so this is what's happening. Do you like being clean shaven? Does this look clean shaven to you? Okay, let me I'm going to join the little room here. I don't know if it's the room we're going to be going into finalize, but we're gonna do it. Okay, so let me switch my screens and give me a moment. You can still hear me, I hope. 10 euro pounds, I should say, from Phyllis. Oh, are we here?
All right, turn on camera, start virtual camera. You guys can see me, I presume? Yes.
I knew that coward Wick wouldn't show up. Oh, there he is.
Fantastic.
Hi. Oh, thanks for the 10 pounds, Philosophical Zombie Hunter. I really appreciate you. Okay.
10 pounds?
Yes, 10 pounds.
You're collecting foreign monies?
I will collect any monies. Okay. You want to
Traitor.
send me some pounds? You want to send me
You
some
dare deal
euros?
in anything but USD or Bitcoin.
You want to send me some Canadian money? I don't even know what they call Canadian monies. Canucks? I don't
Dollars.
know.
Jokes aside, I will say I love the way that euros work. I love the coins. You can have like a handful of coins and it's like 25 euros. Here it's like you have a handful of coins, you have like $4 at best.
Fair
They have
enough.
like 2 euro coins. It feels so nice to have a bunch of those.
Well, I'm here. Like, are we starting this show? What's going on? Like, I'm used to being the guy in charge, but I'm not. So I'm just kind of
I'm not in charge either. Don't look at me.
I feel the
Game
need
of
to
liberal
fill the
cluck.
void, though. But
Give me a liberal
like,
cluck here.
everyone have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So anyone that's interested, when you're done with all the mashed potatoes, you got a big ass bowl, turn them bitches into gnocchi.
Man, I don't know what's with your audio, brother, but it's dog shit. Like, do you have a
That's my
tariff
audio,
on your
yeah.
audio levels right now? What's going on?
How bad? Like, what's bad about it, so I can fix it before I get started?
It keeps kind of cutting in and out a little bit for me. And it's also it's like it's muffled a little bit.
I'm using my laptop right now.
Okay, well we'll see if it continues. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm in Texas at the moment.
Like
It's
I can hear
fucking-
you and I can understand you. It's just
Well, it sounds good on my end, but
If it's real bad, I'll
It's
jump on my
good
phone.
enough.
good enough for government work. Well, this is
I'm happy to finally team up with you, Wick. I've enjoyed your content for a while.
well,
It's nice to
thank
be
you.
here.
Look, if this is gonna turn into a glazing session, I'm here for it. But no,
Hell yeah.
I'm here to defend free trade.
So am I, brother.
I'm
The
keeping my
silence.
powder
Do you guys not have anything to talk about? Is there nothing
dry.
on? Right?
I don't want to like waste any of my
Yeah,
talking
I'm-
points or anything.
We're
Or
just
like, you know, I don't
we're
want to.
keeping the powder dry. We're saving our ammo for the show. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gritting my teeth after your last comment. Like, ooh, start that fucking stream, boy. I'm ready.
Okay.
No,
Gibbs,
I'm
we're
just
all
looking at
live.
some
We're all
guys.
here. We're all ready. He can't even hear us. He deafened us. He's
Yeah.
how this is
Wow.
absolutely horrible. We should all just leave. I'm out.
Probably,
Sorry, guys.
yeah.
This is just so unprofessional and disgusting.
oh, it's not 8 yet.
I'm just
Okay, it's not 8 yet.
I'll just play.
Oh, here he goes. Here we are. Oh no, he's talking, but we can't hear
Still
him.
can't hear him.
Oh,
Are y'all
my.
ready for tonight's tariff throwdown? Are
Okay,
you
here
boys
we go.
ready?
I need like 5
Next time-
minutes. I'm just kidding.
No, we're ready to go.
I'm just kidding. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
put
Yeah,
your
we're
big
ready.
boy
I'm ready.
pants on. You ain't got there for 5 minutes. We ain't got time for that here. But yes, we're gonna be getting rocking and rolling right now. We're talking about the tariffs tonight. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they stupidity? Are they insanity? Are they a stroke of genius? This is also, as of breaking news today, Trudeau has flown in to discuss things with Trump days after Trump threatened him with a 25% tariff hike. And that's also comes on the heels of a historic meeting and call with President Sheinbaum saying basically that the tariffs have inspired her to stop people at the southern border, paraphrased by Trump. We're going to get into all this and more tonight. We'll start off with everybody give your intro who you are and tell us what your thoughts are. Average debate enjoyer, you go ahead and kick it off here.
All right, my name's Tyler. I'm here to defend tariffs. So after the first thing the first Congress did on July 4th, the birthday of our damn country, the first thing they did after getting sworn in was pass a tariff. So you're going to sit here and tell me that tariffs lead to bad economy. I'm looking at America right now. It looks pretty damn good. Next, we're going to talk about Trump's tariff. Now, Trump says a lot of things. I think some of them aren't going to happen. Others are pie in the sky, but we can take a look at his first administration, see how he used tariffs, what he did, and how it was successful. And pretty much in front, minus China.
All right, thank you so much. Non-fraud, why don't you take us off?
Yeah, I'm here to defend free trade. Free trade is almost always a net benefit to the United States, even regardless of what other countries do. Tariffs fail to do most things that people think they do, like protect jobs. They're just overall not good.
All right, thank you so much, Pentuple.
I'm Pentuple. Let's go. Go tariffs. Go Trump. He's going to implement them smartly. He's not just going to throw a dart at a dartboard. It's going to be done smart. They're on the table. It's the way that every country deals with foreign trade. Some are implemented to completely kick them out the market so that we can revive American manufacturing. Some of it's just to open the market so we can start competing again. This is all done intelligently and not with a blindfold. So I expect Trump to use them effectively for American long-term economic success. Let's go. Let's go, tariffs. Woo!
Thank you so much. And Wick, we actually get to have you compete instead of moderate for once. How you doing?
You'll come to regret this. You will rue the day. Okay, so no, I'm here to defend free trade, both as a concept and in practice. I think that free trade has benefits both economically and it's a moral good. Adam Smith wrote Wealth of Nations, and that remains true even today in a lot of ways. What are the price of tariffs? Will they help the economy? We have countless examples from the 2002 tariff that Bush imposed, right, on steel, from the 2012 tariff that Obama passed to the 2008 tariffs that Trump did. And in each case, we can track the data on this and recognize the cost to consumers, the cost to people, and how businesses had to be literally bailed out from the Trump tariffs in 2018. We'll talk about that, right? The $28 billion he gave to the farming industry because his tariffs decimated them. We'll talk about it, right? And if we think that tariffs are going to be a good idea for the economy, you have to contend with the fact that economists don't see it this way. It has traditionally not worked. Free trade is the reason that you can sit here today talking and put food on your Thanksgiving table. Thank you, free trade. I want you, and by the end of tonight, you will all thank free trade as well. That's my argument, and here we are.
Well, what makes it against free trade is aren't a lot of these tariffs in response to countries that have tariffs on our, like cars, for example? Like we're not selling cars because they have a 100% tariff on us. Why aren't you going over there and complaining about their abandonment of free trade?
Well,
God.
They will pay the price for their own tariffs, right? We have studies showing how both the European Union and China, they have decimated their own economies during this trade war, right? It has hurt them more than it has hurt us.
Yeah, the case for free trade is a unilateral one. Regardless of what other countries do, I think it's a net benefit to us to engage in free trade.
Yeah, I think these countries need our markets more than we need their products. And the whole point is like the opening of the market for American companies to compete when manufacturing overseas is extremely cheap. I mean, there's other ways to approach this. You could sanction countries that allow slave labor, that allow production to be this cheap because of that. But I think that you could just implement tariffs. That's probably a better approach. Maybe you'll argue for sanctions. I don't know. But when you make this like free trade, as if we're not about free trade, a lot of these tariffs are responding to countries that have tariffs on us, and it's to get them to sit at the table. You guys are right. And a lot of these tariffs aren't going to be implemented, but a lot of them are strategic negotiation tactics that if they want to do nothing, we can implement them. And then it will bring them to the table. And this is I think there's
it might bring them to the table because famously, the 2002 tariffs that Bush said, after he did that, we've had no trouble with China, and China's been a good boy the entire time. What are you talking about? They bring it to the table? What are you talking about, literally? We've tried tariffs with China specifically over and over again for over 20 years. It has not worked.
Well, let me ask you this. Tyler, go ahead. You wanted to get in there as well.
So absolutely, it has worked multiple times. So taking a look at what Trump did with Mexico when he got rid of NAFTA, was restructuring for the USMCA, slapped a 25% steel tariff on both of those countries, took the negotiations.
Why is there a child on your screen?
That's my niece.
Hi, niece.
She wants to learn. She wants to learn about tariffs.
I feel weird yelling at you now, though.
No. Don't worry about it. Also, so she's here. She's an adult. She wants to learn about tariffs like the big boys. So here she is.
You make her cry, Wick. She's pro-tariff. Don't make her cry.
So that all being said, as he was saying, sanctions work. There's all sorts of mechanisms. We have China manipulating their currency, practicing an intellectual theft of $300 billion a year, doing all kinds of shady things, costing us almost $1 trillion a year in losses from China specifically. We slapped these tariffs on not to say, oh, you got tariffs on us, though it was a good reason. It was because they were a bad actor, and this was a punishment. You can look at the economy and say, yeah, it might hit the economy
Who did
a
it
little
punish?
bit.
That's a good
Joe
question.
Biden
The
fixed it, I thought.
2018 tariffs specifically. Let's talk about that. Who did it punish? Who bared the price? Who bared the brunt of the cost for those tariffs? Not so
Anybody
much
that did it by
China.
American.
Not so much China.
Anybody that did it by American. If you bought American steel, you didn't even notice the tariff.
But here's the thing.
That's not true.
Businesses, right? Businesses, right, who import goods, the supply chains, right? When we talk about tariffs, we have to talk about supply chains because that's what tariffs affect. When a business wants to purchase a product or a resource that they use to make their product, basically, such as steel, such as washers, maybe a part, it could be any sort of thing, right? They will come in and they will pay a tax on that if they haven't actually gotten an exemption from the government. And we'll talk about how tariffs lead to corruption in the government, right? We talk about the swamp and draining that. Tariffs make that swamp even worse. And we can look at the tons of companies, right, who applied and received an exemption from the steel tariff from Trump in 2018.
So
about almost half of them, right? We can talk about that, but let me finish here. But the cost comes to the consumer. I don't get bailed out. I didn't get any bailout, right, from the cost of the Trump's tariffs, but the corporations largely did.
Yeah, well,
okay, so can we clarify out something really quick?
Sure.
Because you can look up examples of tariffs that we've implemented in the past that didn't work, but I see tariffs as a tool. And what we're talking about is whether Trump should use this tool. Are you using these examples to make the argument that tariffs never work or that they're never effective?
There could be good
because
tariffs.
we could easily sit here and you could convince me about this 2018 tariff, this 2002 tariff, that it wasn't implemented correctly. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. You know, there's a lot of reasons for that. Maybe it was too high. Maybe it was too low. Maybe there was maybe it was a certain product that shouldn't have been tariffed this way. Like, we can hash that out, but what we're talking about in this debate is, should Trump have tariffs on the table? We're talking about China. We're talking about we're talking about Mexico. We're talking about Canada. We're talking about accomplishing economic goals and other goals, by the way, with fentanyl crossing the border by using tariffs.
Okay,
and
well,
so
let's
you're
ask,
assuming
what
that
is his
he's
goal
going
with
to
the tariffs
use
against
them in
Canada?
an ineffective way. Your premise when you come here and say that tariffs should work.
Let me just ask directly, what is Trump's goal with his tariffs against Canada?
Well, as far as I'm aware, it's the same as with Mexico. It's to stop the trafficking of drugs and people over the border. They need to take care of the border and stop letting the border be open.
You think that Trump is trying to get Canada to stop importing people from their northern border?
I don't think there's no problem happening at the Canadian border. No, I don't think it's beyond fathomable that there's issues with drugs and people crossing the Canadian border as well as the Mexican border. I mean, you think it's only people from South America that would come here? I don't know. What do you mean?
Yeah, there was a report recently about Indians coming through. It was in a large number through the Canadian border now. I don't know if it's.
But the point is, do tariffs never work? Is that your argument?
No,
is that
no
matter how Trump implements them, that they're not going to work? Because I would make the argument, if Trump doesn't intelligently implement tariffs in these conversations, yeah, they're probably not going to work, and that would just not be using the tool correctly. But are we arguing about the tool? Do you think that it just never works? We should never use tariffs. It should be off the table. We have to find a different approach to accomplish these goals.
There are very niche instances where tariffs as a tool can be implemented. I'm not 100% against tariffs, but I'm 90% against tariffs, if that makes sense. So a good example of a tariff historically that has actually had good effects was the 1964 the 1964 chicken tax, right? Which was about the auto industry and industries, things like that. It helped the Ford F-150 kind of become a really big thing. So yes, it can. Here's the thing about tariffs. There are winners and losers, right? It can help in certain instances with domestic production. But the problem becomes, right, is that it hurts us overall. It hurts the export industry especially. And if we want to export our
in the long term?
Yes, in the long term.
Hurts
Yeah. And I think
what should we do with a country like Japan that puts a 100% tariff on our cars and then they sell their cars in our country? How do you suppose we counter that? Doesn't it kind of make sense to say, look, if you're going to put a 100% tariff on our cars and make them basically unsellable in your country, we could do the same to you? You guys, don't you think that would work at least bringing them to the table?
I don't think that's a net benefit to the U.S. Given the
Why?
fact that I don't think tariffs have a track record of working, I'm not okay with the major economic
That's
costs
your
that they
reasoning?
have.
All right, let's hear from the next one then. There's no reasoning.
Hold on. Let non-fraud. Hold on. Let non-fraud finish.
No, because tariffs don't work. Okay,
Well,
interesting take.
given Wick just laid out they have a track record of not being particularly effective, I'm not okay with the potential of imposing a big economic cost in America just
Wow.
for some like hypothetical benefit.
I mean, okay,
Gripping input.
Trump's tariffs, again, you guys are really like focusing in on what success is by economic success when he's clearly announcing the intent of many of these tariffs is for a negotiating chip for something that's not economic. He wants to pay for the border wall, stop immigration and drugs coming in from the southern border. That's what the goal of the tariffs are on Mexico. He got on the phone with the president of Mexico. They had a very productive call. I could imagine troops, U.S. troops, even going into Mexico to battle the cartels after how they're talking about that call. So tariffs bring people to the table, as he was saying earlier. There is that fact. You're just arguing the.
Bro, I had a call with the president of Mexico too, and the president of Mexico was telling me how that all was bullshit. Right? You can like Trump says the call went well, but I just don't believe
And then also,
him. Okay.
Trump hates the trade deficit in general. Trump has tweeted about hating the trade deficit before. It's not like just he's using it as a negotiating tactic. He doesn't like the trade deficit either. Like,
you're 100% correct. Now, there's a bunch of different things Trump has promised with tariffs. Like if a country goes to a U.S.-based country, takes its production to Mexico, he wants to slap.
Thank you for the $5 grassroots
That's
hegemon.
something I could imagine Elizabeth Warren saying.
The existence of Canada is a problem. Annex them and rename the snow Snowhile.
I can't imagine anybody that wants people to pay their fair share of taxes could be against
Elizabeth Warren and
How's that a net
Bernie
benefit?
Sanders are protectionists, and they're in the sense that they are protectionists. They are wrong, and we should oppose them. We understand that, right?
Okay. Fair share of taxes? You want them to offshore jobs?
I just want to run through this example. So you're saying that, like,
Guys on Google, great.
I'm on. Yeah, if a company moves,
Are we here to be on Google? I mean, it's just pointless. All right, go ahead and read Google.
I'm not reading Google. If a company moves their production to Mexico or whatever, like how, and we slap it 100% tariff on them, how is that a net benefit to the U.S.?
The companies will lose money if they go to Mexico. This factors into their profit margin. In their profit margin, if they say, wow, it's going to cost us a 100% tariff to sell this good here, it now loses us money to go to Mexico, even though we're taking advantage of cheap labor and lack of.
It's really simple. The reason they're going to Mexico is they can make their bottom line larger by manufacturing it cheaper. If you add a tariff, now they have to calculate that in. Now their bottom line is cheaper when they manufacture in the U.S. They come back here. You can manipulate these companies very easily by just changing the bottom line. Tariffs are like the easiest way to do that.
Here's the thing. In a lot of cases, they don't come
Well,
back.
I'm not arguing with you. We're arguing with Google or whatever you're Googling
They just
over there.
drop their jobs. They don't create new jobs. They just like, oh, this is not economically feasible. So no job gets created. No product gets created. And they simply scale back their productions, right?
Well, even if they benefit from it, I still dispute that's a cost to exports. There's a cost to consumers through higher prices. There's a cost of productivity. There's a cost of real consumption possibilities. All these things are negative, so you have to account for too.
So let me ask this. So there's an argument from the right that I've heard other righties make is that tariffs are going to force domestic production. I guess we'll ask the lefties here first. Do you all think that there is anything true in that statement? Is it going to force domestic production? Is this a scenario where we'll see, an initial price increase and then it'll even out and we'll be stronger? Is that you don't see any possibility of something like that occurring? We'll start with non-fraud and then we go to Wick.
I don't dispute tariffs can lead to increased domestic output, but that domestic output is a waste because you're using domestic resources to produce something that could have been imported for cheaper, while those same domestic resources could have been used to produce other things. And I also think tariffs harm exports as well. And if you like exports, then you shouldn't support them too.
So here's the thing. There are winners to tariffs, right? In a lot of cases, it will have some benefit, but the problem with it is that the overall costs mean it's a negative for the economy in general, for the nation in general, for the consumer in general, from people in general. I'll give you an example. For example, the 2002 steel tariffs, okay? There was some gain, some benefit that happened within the domestic steel production industry. The problem is we didn't have the workforce, we didn't have the industrial base and things like that to take advantage of it. And you have the exporters who consumed 10 times the amount of steel, right, that was produced domestically, that they had to pay the cost of that steel, okay? Because they couldn't get it from domestic things. It wasn't possible. And
Well, there's possibly reasons for that. Maybe they're overregulated. There's other areas of the economy that absolutely affect this discussion. There's a super nuanced thing that I don't think like a Twitch panel is going to figure out, to be fair. But let's say I'm accepting what you're saying is
Yes.
true. There's a lot of reasons that aren't tariffs don't work that caused that tariff to fail in its goal.
But tariffs don't fix any of those problems.
Well, here's what tariffs do. You either have to eat the cost, which means that we're collecting money from these companies, or they try to pass it off to consumers, which means that the market price that the customer's seeing is going up, which opens the market for American-made manufacturing
But
of these
that's
products.
not what happens in.
It opens the market.
That doesn't I know that's
Well, you can
the
pull up
theory,
this 2002
but much
thing that
like
you found, but I'm
communism,
just saying this is
they all
like
think
much...
they're going to eat, but they all end up starving. Okay, that's
And
what
even
happens
when
with
that
tariffs.
happens,
In
I fail to
theory,
see how it's a net
domestic,
benefit.
there's a domestic like blow up of production, but
Well, you
that
just can
doesn't what
say it's
isn't
not
what
a net
happens.
benefit.
Well, it
You
hasn't
haven't
happened historically.
substantiated that yet. You haven't read enough on Google yet. Keep doing your live research.
Even if it's not
I mean, I told you, I think
hold
that-
on, hold on. Let me jump in here because
Yeah, go ahead.
no other policy. Like, look at climate change. If you look at climate change, a carbon tax, anything related to climate change is going to make the cost of living of Americans go up. Anytime you go after gas and fuel, even just in rhetoric, it makes the cost of a barrel go up. It makes people stop investing less in the oil industry. But nobody's going to say, well, the cost of climate change is so high that we can't do it on the side of people that want climate change. There's people that want trade regulated. There's people that want Mexico to do certain things, countries to do certain things, and these tariffs are negotiating mechanisms being used to force these countries to the table and force their hand.
You're right.
Unless it has the strongest
No,
economy.
hold on. He's actually right. Do you know who wants these tariffs? People who are in companies, who are corporations, who are in these industries, who can afford lobbyists to pay money, right, and to do a pay-for-play so that they can get exemptions while the mom and pop, the small business, the business that can't afford a lobbyist, can't afford to kind of like cozy up to these politicians, can't get. And so now you have a mom and pop company that has to pay the tariff while the Amazon, the big corporation, does not.
What?
This is what happened in 2018. In
Why is
2018,
mom and pop shop not subject to the same market forces that would motivate them to purchase domestically made
because
products?
they don't
this doesn't
have
make any
to,
sense.
because
Can't afford it. They don't have the
the
connections.
big company does not
Every
have to
mom
pay
and
the
pop
tariff.
shop doesn't have.
but
What,
the
what
mom
are
and
we
pop
talking
does.
about? We're just like talking generically.
No,
what are we doing?
What are you even talking about? So
Well,
let
I'm
me
just saying, like,
explain.
every mom and like, there's no small businesses that are going to be like. I don't understand this. This is talking about the supply of goods, and I mean, even a lot of these larger businesses that we think of are owned by like franchisees and stuff like that. Like, this is domestic production is absolutely not just for like Amazon and Walmart. Like, this is going to affect the shops that you go to.
The big corporations, many of them, not all of them, but many of them, in the 2018 tariffs that were applied.
you
right?
got 2002 and 2018 really quick.
Well,
But, like,
2008. These are different examples.
We
I'm
have
using the
data
Trump examples, right?
2018.
So in
You guys went on
2018,
Google today,
bunch
and
of
now we have
people-
the experts here.
a bunch of people, right, applied for tariffs, tariff exemptions, I should say, so that they didn't have to pay the tariff. Okay, so now if you have a 10% tariff on steel, for example, and imported steel, now Amazon doesn't have to pay that, and you, the person who didn't get the exemption, has to pay that, and you have to compete with Amazon, who didn't have to pay that tariff because they knew the guy in
Well, I'm not
charge
pro-exemption.
and was able to pay for it.
Yeah, I'm not pro-exemption.
Okay, but this is what happens in these tariff economies, right?
Well,
Is
yeah,
it
but they're
creates
basically telling
lobbyists
a
who
way that doesn't actually implement the tariff, especially with the largest people who are, say, Amazon for this example. I don't support that. So that would be, like, for example, them implementing it in an unintelligent way, in my opinion. And I agree with you. Tariffs aren't just like, they work. Here you go. Just tariff. Fuck it. Here's a tariff. You they have to be implemented strategically. If it's 10% versus when he says things like 100% or 1,000%. Once you get to those levels, the whole point is just like, we're kicking you out of our market. We're going to force American manufacturing for these products. For other products, you don't want to say we're only going to produce them in domestically, because we can't. So like, these things are implemented intelligently, and like, you're Googling like examples of tariffs not working, which is fine, and like, those are useful, but like, there's a million reasons that those could have not worked that aren't just automatically
okay,
tariffs
give me
never
one.
work. Like I said, regulation. I don't know what this thing was with 2002 from steel, but maybe the steel industry was overregulated. That didn't really allow American manufacturing to compete. That's just one example off the top of my head. There's probably thousands. And all I'm saying is we don't know the answer because
I do know the answer though. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
I know the answer. I know what's happened. You know why I know? Because I researched the topic. I looked into it. I gathered data, and then I formed a conclusion, and I put that forth, and I'm arguing it tonight. The idea that Googling, what a pussy. What are you talking about?
Our position is not tariffs.
Googling? Oh, getting information from sources? What a pussy move, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you're an online tutor expert.
I did not deny your information. I'm just saying you're gooing on Google and finding, oh, this tariff didn't work, and now we're just assuming that tariffs never work because you found a tariff that didn't work.
Oh, okay,
do you went on Google? People think that this is the Dunning-Kruger effect in real time.
Oh, let's go to Tyler here. Hold on, let's go to Tyler.
I'm willing to accept that you brought up. The 2018 tariff that you brought up, it didn't work. The 2002 tariff didn't work. You're telling me it just didn't work because it was a tariff.
Give me a tariff that worked.
Hold on. All right, I'm taking control here. All right, Tyler, you want to get in here on this?
Okay, so a lot of these are secondary arguments. If you went to Wick and presented him with regulations that cause regulatory capture, create oligopolies in certain sectors of the economy, and said it was something that he was for politically, he would still be for that regulation. So these secondary arguments that yes, there's downsides to everything we do. You're 100% right, but none of these things are going to stop you from enacting policies that you want. Again, climate change being the perfect example. Regulatory.
No, hold on. I reject your claim here. There are, I believe in climate change, right? But there are policies that I think that are more harmful, especially short term, than climate change would be. So I'm like, you know what? This policy, even though it would tacitly help improve climate change for whatever reason, I'm against it because it would cause too much pain at the outset or whatever the fuck, right? And so I would be against that. A lot of the stop oil people, I'm against all that shit, right? I'm against people who are saying don't frack. I'm against that shit. So you keep saying these things, and I'm giving you examples of where what you are saying is simply not true, right?
But the Inflation Reduction Act, because we've argued about it in the past, that's specifically why I'm targeting you here, because you have defended the Inflation Reduction Act to me, and in a lot of ways, that does act as regulatory policy. I don't think you defended Kamala's EV ban that she co-sponsored.
I do not endorse the Biden EV tariff. So.
The tailpipe thing, yeah. I think the only one you've ever defended to me was the Inflation Reduction Act. But still, even then, that would qualify. So a lot of these secondary arguments, yes, it is regulation in a way. Yes, it would come out of the pocket of the consumer if they purchase those foreign goods instead of just buy American. But we're talking short term. Long term, we would see these American companies, American steel, be able to raise their ability to produce more. If you continue to give them your money, they might run out in the short term because we just put in tariffs in place. That's the growing pains of change. But in 10 years from now, their production output would be to the point where they could actually satiate all the people that they need to. The problem is there are long-term issues with tariffs, and it's hard to say, because Rick, you are bringing up a lot of the cons correctly. Long-term tariffs create a lax business that works hand in hand with the government. And as soon as those tariffs, which act as subsidies, go away, they're unable to compete on the world stage, even with companies that are countries that aren't manipulating their currency, that do actually have some workers' rights. But in terms of workers' rights and whatnot, if you want to force, like we did with slavery, when the United States abolished slavery, we used our government, our trading policies, our economy, and our power to force other people that we were doing trade with to end the practice of slavery.
You know what? I'm for ending slavery, right? And I think we should do more to combat overseas sweatshops and things like that. I just
so
don't
what do you
think
propose,
tariffs...
sanctions approach?
Well, actually, that's perfect. That's a perfect segue into what I want to go with this. Okay. All right, so I personally, and I'm gonna put that, I've argued many times that I don't think sanctions work. We can look at Cuba, we can look at North Korea. It's not debate though. Are y'all arguing that the only win condition is economics, or can tariffs be used as a useful tool in the diplomatic field to get at something done that's non-economic related, or at least not directly economically related? Do y'all agree that it can be a tool or not? We'll start with Tyler on this one.
I do. I agree. Tariffs and sanctions, actually, it's funny that he brought that up. Sanctions and tariffs kind of work in very similar ways in punishing somebody. We're basically saying we're not going to trade with you at all. Not that we're going to slap an extra fee on it. We're not going to trade with you at all. That's sanctions limit the free market in the exact same way. So yes, these things can act as tools, and more often than not, they act as tools to combat against bad practices and not actually as an economic policy.
Pentuple, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's obvious that these countries need access to our markets more than we need their products. And manufacturing has been going overseas for the last decades. Trump is to blame for 4 of the last 20 years of this. You guys claimed Dick Cheney is yours, so congrats, you're responsible for the Bush years now. But I think it's an effective tool that brings them to the table. They need access more than we need them. Ultimately, we want to do trade with these countries. I'm with Wick. I love free trade, but when these countries are putting tariffs on our goods, I think that we got to get them to the table. This is a really easy, respectful way to do it. Sanctions are a little more aggressive, but I don't think Tyler's wrong. Like when you implement a 100% or higher tariff on something, that essentially is a sanction. It's saying we don't want this in our markets. And there's reasons to do that, and then there's reasons to not do it, and it's got to be implemented intelligently. It's a tool. I'm sorry you didn't convince me by pulling up 2 examples of tariffs not working, but I hope he implements them strategically, intelligently, and that's ultimately, I think, what'll make this or break this.
Wick.
Okay, so is it a tool? Yes. Can it be used intelligently? Yes. Will it? No. Has it been in 90% of the cases that it's been used, not just by Democrats or Republicans, but by Democrats as well? No, it has not. Again, the idea of what are the benefits from free trade, I think the sanction-like comparison isn't too far off the mark, right? Sanctions are used to hurt, to impose our will on others, and it can be effective when we want to end things like the Ukrainian war or slavery or things like that. But I think that it becomes, because we're willing to pay a cost to end those things, right? We're willing to pay a cost to end slavery, but we can't pretend that cost doesn't exist, that it doesn't hurt people, that doesn't hurt us in a lot of ways, right? So my argument here is that I don't think it is worth the cost, the pain it will cause, not just to Mexico or Canada, but to the consumers here in the U.S. I think we're hurting enough already. Don't add to our pain right now. Don't raise inflation even more, right? Because we can look at the 2018 tariffs, for example. Inflation rose because of the 2018 tariffs.
All right, thank you so much. Non-fraud, go ahead, and then we'll open it back up again.
Like in principle, it's possible, but I don't think they have a good track record. And considering I think they have a major economic cost, I'm not worth the risk of imposing this major economic cost in America just to have some like potential benefit for car manufacturers to export to Europe. Like it's just not worth it.
Well, I guess the way I'm framing it is, as y'all know, immigration is a very large issue to me, right? Do you think, like, for example, using the tariffs, like Trump has proposed putting a 25% tariff on Mexico if they don't stop the fentanyl, they don't start stopping the migrant convoys at the southern border? Do you think it's effective in that manner?
No.
Or like if it's not a direct economic thing?
I don't think it will be.
I don't think it will be either, but also I think Trump just hates the trade deficit. I don't think Trump is as much concerned about this as he is concerned about the trade deficit.
All right.
I think it will be, and it did work. I would say if you looked at the track record of almost every tariff except for the Chinese ones that Trump put in place, he got a concession out of a country that they weren't willing to give up prior. And I would say that is a success, even if it wasn't his original aim to get whatever concession he got. He never got the wall, for instance, but instead he got the migrant protection protocols, which flat out ended the credible fear of prosecution in asylum abuse that's currently going on today.
I mean, I think it'll work on the border. If you create a tariff that they just can't afford economically, you're basically forcing their hand. I mean, like, we hate to do this, but it's like we have the ability to force Mexico's hand if we want. Like, we want to be diplomatic and stuff, but like if Mexico really wanted to step, we could absolutely ruin them. Like, we're the big brother here, so I think it will work. I don't think we'll ultimately implement a 25% tariff because it would be probably that. I think that's how, like, they'll be at the table quick. 25 is a good number to bring them to the table real quick, because I don't think that they would even want 15%. But the point is, like, I think that this is going to get negotiations going. I don't know how you guys will judge whether it works or not, because ultimately this could succeed even just being used as a threat when they come to the table. But like I said, the tariffs are a negotiation tactic. It's a tool. They work for multiple different reasons. You can accomplish several different goals with them. Tariffs have not always worked. I'll concede that point. Tariffs have to be implemented strategically and intelligently, and this would be a good example of it. I don't think it has to be just for economic reasons. I think you could easily get Mexico to come and start like right now, they have no economic incentive to start dealing with this border situation. What's their economic incentive? We're the ones dealing with the ones that are crossing into our country. They're coming into our country, right? So now we're giving them a financial incentive. Look, you really kind of have to do this because you decided not to come to the table.
Let me just ask you directly. What do you think Trump is wanting specifically for Mexico to do? What is Mexico specifically going to do because of the tariffs in order to stop?
Well, they have some control over the people crossing through their country up to our border. I mean, they could prevent that the same way we prevent it, from the way we try to prevent it.
There was over 200 political assassinations last election season in Mexico. They don't have to control their goddamn country. We're talking about getting
the Mexican government to care about the border when they're on the side that doesn't have a financial incentive to control the border.
You understand that, right?
In our side, when drugs cross into the U.S., they have no incentive to stop that.
Own, operate, and run a large portion of Mexico.
Okay, well, that's in part because the Mexican government's not doing enough, and this is why we get them to the table to say, start doing something.
Like, they can't. Like, you don't understand. Right?
We're going to do it. We're going to do it with or without you, brother. We're tariffing, baby. We won.
Three practical things that tell you win. So the first two are things that Trump did in office the first term that Biden repealed within his first 2 weeks in office. The first would be the migrant protection protocols. What we learned from that Texas Supreme Court case is that Texas is allowed to only deport Mexican citizens to Mexico. Anyone not from Mexico, Texas was not allowed to legally deport them to Mexico. We need Mexico's consent for that, and that was a big reason of why we needed Mexico for the migrant protection protocols to agree in order to give them people or have them hold people that were Mexican citizens. So that would be one. Two would be if you pass through a country that is asylum able to be applied for and you don't apply, you don't get to pass through Mexico. We want Mexico to guard their southern border and make sure every asylee applies to every country acceptable before they get to the United States. They don't get to pick and choose what country they want for asylum because those are people abusing the system. The third thing, this is speculation, but I think we are actually going to see troops go into Mexico working with the Mexican government to go after the cartel.
You think that, hold on, you think that Trump is going to send troops into Mexico?
With Mexico's consent.
That's interesting.
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I could be wrong here. I won't die on this hill that this won't happen because crazier things have happened, right? But I think that at least in the political climate we have, sending troops into Mexico is just not something Trump will do because he realizes it's a loser politically. Let's talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the benefits. Actually, one of the biggest benefits actually for tariffs isn't economic. Unfortunately, it's political. There are the competitive districts, right, in America. They tend to benefit a little bit from tariffs. But you know who doesn't? Red countries, Rust Belt countries, right? Counties, I should say. And we have studies on this, and I can link them if you'd like. But like the Republican-held counties, the deep red counties, they tend to face a lot of the pain. Appalachia faces a lot of the pain that tariffs pass along. So these are things that politicians use to kind of cozy up and buy off, right? Some of the more competitive districts, but it's at the cost of the average working American, and I'm tired of paying that cost, and I refuse because you are, wanting to have a trade war with Mexico and Canada. I just reject that premise.
We posted out through elections, and like people can look at you and say, you have all these climate hysteria, climate predictions for 60 years haven't panned out like scientists and politicians say. I refuse to pay any green taxes. It's not how it works, unfortunately. We let the people that we elect to office decide that, and it's Trump's turn to have 4 more years.
Okay, you're right. He's probably going to do it. I'm saying it's going to be bad. Yes.
What happens if it isn't? Are you going to be like, shit, I shouldn't have just...
If it isn't, then I will come and I will apologize and say, wow, they worked this time. Wow, I was wrong. These Trumps did amazingly, and I haven't felt any cost from this, and the benefits were amazing. I will come and I will say that. I don't think I'm going to be doing that, though.
What's your definition of success, Pentuple? What do you hope to see out of them?
I want to
That's
see
actually- that's actually a good-
manufacturing back in the U.S. Things that we measure
Why is that a
already.
good
This
thing?
is like, what do you mean?
Oh wait,
Is
well,
it a
first
good
of all,
thing to have manufacturing?
it's not as obvious as you would think,
Oh,
but we'll
Lord.
get to that point. Actually, I just want to do we think that?
You
For
just want to
example,
read
steel
the
tariffs-
headline you found on Google? Why are you
Wait,
here?
I-
Why are you? What are we doing? This is so much more interesting without the kid from Google.
What,
Oh,
well, hold on,
I know
hold on.
you
I
hate
would
me
like-
because I.
No, you're just because
Because
you
I'm a
like
permanently online
we're talking about
pseudo-expert.
things from like an understanding we can have. I don't. You just go read whatever you want. This is so
Well, hold
boring.
on.
Yeah, I
I
go
would-
to Greg
yeah.
Mankiw, Principles of Economics, but it like
Well, I would like you to explain that a little bit, like before we move on too far from that. What do you mean? I think I'm a little confused. What do you mean by it's not necessarily as straightforward as you think that manufacturing? Because all right, I'm gonna be honest, like, and I'm trying to be unbiased here, but like to me, just as an unbiased normie who doesn't have any experience in manufacturing, right? I would think, hey, having more manufacturing in America would be a good thing. Why is that not necessarily true, Nonfront? What do you think? Why is that?
because other sectors are more productive, and we don't want to be. There's an opportunity cost to everything. So having a bunch of people manufacture stuff, do final assembly when they could be designing iPhones, which is much more productive, is a net cost.
Ace, get rid of unions. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
back-
also here,
go ahead.
Pentuple. I want to walk. Can I I want to walk down like two rows
No,
of
it's-
thought with you. Okay.
Okay.
Do you think that tariffs on steel would be beneficial to American manufacturing?
I don't know. I think that's a much more nuanced conversation. Like, I mean, there's ways that I don't know. I don't know the steel industry. We're talking about tariffs in general. Talking about trying to deal with losing manufacturing for the last 20 years for
You're-
like obvious
Well,
reasons
well,
that we
there's
can't
a
compete
reason-
with the
if I may,
prices of.
if I may interject, because I just realized something, right? And I think it's worth pointing out from Tyler and from Pentuple both. Your argument seems to be, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misreading this, but you see this as a bargaining chip. You're like, the tariffs are there, and they're just in case to make sure that these countries do what
In
we
some
want.
cases, for sure.
Right.
It's going to be different
you
on
recognize
each product and on each
Sure,
country, for sure.
Yeah, but you recognize, like, fundamentally, that these things are kind of like a mutually assured destruction threat. We recognize that
Not
it's going to
really.
hurt us both. That's why you're
No, it's-
hoping
we're-
that the
we're
country
watching-
doesn't do, or the country bends the knee, as you would say, so that we don't have to implement the tariffs.
I would just say they're
because deep down,
benefiting.
you understand that the tariffs are going to suck.
No, I'm saying they're benefiting from the current trade arrangements. We could at least stop the bleeding so that it's an even trade arrangement. Ideally, we should both be competing to have the better side of the deal, which is what they're doing. And that's why I don't blame these countries for having tariffs on our products. And when we're not
A lot of times they put
smart
in
and
tariffs
strategic
as
enough
a
to implement them
response
back.
to ours.
But I think what you're saying is like, yes, in some cases, these are just a strategic maneuver to get them to the table. In some cases, there will be legitimate revenue collection here. In some cases, it'll just be evening the market out for foreign cars and American cars. I mean, like, it's
Oh my God.
it is as simple as that's what it is. It has to be implemented intelligently. Like you're saying, if we're like, oh, steel, what should steel be? Let's do 100%. Like maybe maybe we can't produce that and we need to have it at 20%.
You've
And
been
that
the most
will allow people to still
vague
do it.
person on this whole
I'm just
channel.
saying these have to be implemented smartly.
You say things like,
but
"Oh,
that's
it's
not what we're talking about,
nuanced,"
is
but
it?
I don't want nuance. I want you to explain it to me.
Well, hold on.
Right.
Hold
What
on.
do you want me to
hold on,
explain?
hold on,
I'm
hold
not
on.
an
Let me
expert
run
in
down.
steel.
I got two.
Hold on. Yeah, we
I'm not the guy who pretends to be a pseudo expert because I can Google things in real time and then just read you that and pretend like I was
you
thinking
know,
that the whole
Google
time.
enough,
Hold on.
eventually
I
you
I
will
can do
learn.
this with my eyes closed if you want. I
right, yeah,
don't
that's
have
fair.
to. I don't-
No, I'm just.
Hold on, my
There's a
apologies.
time and place. I'm not shaming you for going on Google. I'm just saying, like, look,
What
What
it's
do you
not
mean?
about,
You've been
gotcha.
shaming
I'm just
him
gonna
this whole
Google.
time.
I'm just gonna put
Don't
in
gaslight
ChatGPT.
me.
Give me a rebuttal
Don't
for this.
gaslight me.
I'm not
You've
talking
You've been
about you,
shaming
Wick. I'm not
this
talking about
guy
you, Wick.
the
I'm not
whole
talking about you,
time,
Wick. I'm
using
not
it as
talking
an
about you,
argument
Wick.
point. You know, this guy,
I'm
I
not
don't know
talking
his
about you,
fucking
Wick.
name, non-fun. I don't care.
I'm not talking about you.
right?
I'm not talking about you, Wick, at
Of
all.
course, you don't.
All right,
You
so
wouldn't
hold
step
on,
up
so-
to the white man, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, Wick. Create a
All right, hold
question. Wick,
All right.
pent up. No, I was kidding.
All right, hold on. All right, let's go. So, Non-Fron, I know Wick came in there. Non-Fron, you wanted to ask a second thing here. I know you had a two-parter. Go ahead with your second one, and then we can go over to Tyler. I see you over here doing the
Yeah,
Macarena.
I mean, you didn't really answer my first one, and I also want to ask Tyler about the first one as well. But
Perfect. We'll go. We'll go with whatever you got, and then we'll go to Tyler.
yeah, okay. So I'm curious. Do you think taxing like an export would be beneficial to American manufacturing?
You asking me if we're taxing export?
Yeah, if taxing exports would be beneficial to American manufacturing.
I don't know. You'd have to
come
implement
on,
it in a
really?
way. I don't know. What are we
Really?
doing? Just in general,
Really?
do tariffs work? Should we ever implement a tax on an exported good? Sure. I don't know. I could probably be convinced on that. This isn't like a passionate pillar of my political beliefs, but it's just like I don't know. Give me an example. When would we do that? Do you think we should?
Thought exercise. What do you got? You got an example of thought exercise not drawn, or do you just?
Yeah. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I don't think we should. Generally, intuitively, obviously, like taxing exports, which
So, like, the
manufacturers
opposite
rely
of
on.
Generally,
Basically,
you are
kinda.
Generally, you are correct.
So
Taxing
the opposite
exports
of,
is
what,
bad.
the opposite of what a tariff is intended to do, and you're saying that's bad. And that's your
Generally,
argument.
hold on. Let me
Tariffs-
My point is going to be that
Hold on. One at a time. Go ahead, Don. Go ahead.
my point is going to be that putting tariffs on imports reduces XL. So one of the reasons it does that is you tariff intermediate goods like steel, which are used to make plants in manufacturing plants to export stuff. If you tariff everything, you tariff wood from other countries.
I
So
just thought of a
used to make
reason to
another thing.
tariff and export. What if we need this product? We don't want companies just sending this overseas. I could be like, yeah, if you're gonna send this overseas, you can do it, but you're gonna pay. And then that'll distance this company from sending the product overseas. So in that case, I would be on board.
See, this is
something.
Oh my
You're
God.
correct. Hold on. Hold on.
Wait, this
He's
is so
correct.
dumb because I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is that would hurt American manufacturing. If you think the cost to American manufacturing is warranted by some
don't
national
even buy
security
into
concerns.
that, right?
To
So here's the
disincentivize them
thing.
from shipping
Here's the
product
deal.
overseas instead of just selling it domestically. That
No,
doesn't even.
what they
You're
will
just
do
saying.
is they won't
Hold
sell
on,
it
hold
at
on,
all.
hold on.
The alternative, right, to it being in a lot of cases to these products being produced overseas and imported into the country isn't that the alternative isn't we just make it here for a little bit more. The alternative is they don't get made. A lot of the companies
In
just
what
don't
case?
do it. They don't
If the product's
increase their
necessary and
domestic
shipping
production.
made, nobody
They
wants
don't
them.
increase their domestic
There's
industry.
demand.
They decide it's not worth it to them, and so they simply don't make it. Right? This happens.
there's no
The
demand for
alternative
it.
to free
Where do
trade
the market
isn't
forces go?
$2,000
Where do we go?
iPhones. It's
Hold
no
on,
iPhones at all.
Disappears. Like, all these market forces just disappear. Like there's no demand for products anymore.
No,
Like,
I'm
if
talking
it's
about
product
the
they would not
cost
manufacturing.
that is led,
I
right?
want to go to Tyler, but I want to ask you a question, Wick, real quick.
Go ahead,
So
please.
I know the libertarians. If I have any watching, they're always arguing that the market will take care of itself, right? And in your argument you just made is that a lot of times the product doesn't get made. The
Yep.
libertarian argument in that case would be, well, then apparently that wasn't a product that people really needed or wanted. So how would you argue against that?
There are
And
plenty
then
of
we're gonna
things
go to
that
Tyler.
sure.
I know he's been waiting, so go ahead, Wick, and then Tyler.
Yeah, there in a lot of cases there are products that we have that is nice to have, but that I do not need, right, to have. So my iPhone, or not my iPhone, my Android, for example. Look, my Android, it's nice, it's fun. I got a picture of my dog on it, right?
You gonna get the
But it's
Tesla phone?
entirely not needed. If companies decided that it was too expensive to produce and that I had to pay like a bunch of money to get this, I couldn't afford it, right? So no matter how much I need a product, unless it's a base necessity, or how much I want a product, if it's over a certain price, I simply don't buy that product because my wanting to afford a thing, right, is higher than my desire for that product. So this isn't the case for things like eggs or food and things like that, but it is the case for luxury goods.
It is the case for things like food, though, because people buy alternative foods. They buy other foods.
But they're
All right,
still
let's go to Tyler here. Tyler, go ahead. I know you're dying to get in.
There's three things I want to mention that already got passed that I just wanted to jump into. So going into first the steel tariffs, I can tell you a lot what happened there because we saw it in real time. It happened. So what was happening is NAFTA was in place. China was dumping buttloads of super cheap steel into both Mexico and Canada. This cheap steel sucks for manufacturing. It's made super poorly. Unions won't use it. So the reason I'm pro-tariff is because I'm pro-worker. I am a person of the left, and tariffs benefit the worker. So in this instance, you have U.S. production now having a reason to increase output, hire more jobs, take in more
Did they do
investment.
that?
In certain degrees, the tariff wasn't in place long enough for it to happen.
Spoiler alert.
They didn't, but it wasn't in place. But I'm telling you, in a circumstance where the tariff was actually in place for more than just a negotiating tactic, because all it was a negotiating tactic. But if it's in place longer, we could see these investments picking up. We could see these manufacturing output increasing, making it cheaper to make this actual better steel that is used by union laborers, that is a higher quality. And then we also have our steel being exported. Now, to go into the second question, generally, yes, if you tax an export, it's not good for manufacturing. I think he actually countered that argument pretty well in saying that not 100% of the time is selling the most goods the best for the economy, for national security, for a multitude of reasons. So if we have a lack of scarcity or a lack of elasticity of a product, then generally exporting it to sell something to Russia that we actually need here in the country would probably be a good idea. You can get more money selling it over there because they'll pay whatever the fuck for it. But if we actually put a tax on it and make it so you lose money by selling it to them, paying outsource outrageous money for some scarce good.
Can you give us an example of a good you would consider that we should put this tax on?
No. Generally, no.
So you can't think of an actual example. I agree with you hypothetically. There might be a product or a case that I can think of, but you can't think of one. I can't think of one. Yeah, I think that's pretty strong argument for my side here.
I mean,
if you agree generally that taxing exports is bad, my next point is going to be is that tariffs also reduce export via resource allocation, exchange rate appreciation, production cost, and retaliatory tariffs.
Yeah,
so do you want to run down those?
Going back to my original point, if you look at just the economic impacts of any regulation, any tariff, any policy, you see reduction in the market. What you're arguing for is laissez-faire economics, but only for this one thing. And then every other department, you're cool with regulation, you're cool with workers' rights, you're cool with worker protections, which I am as well. Don't get me wrong. It's just if I'm cool with all those things and I'm going to ignore the economic impacts because of a greater good, why am I going to ignore the economic impacts of us ignoring workers committing suicide because they're working 70 hours a week?
What is this argument? What is this argument?
The easy answer is I think some of those things are net benefits.
Tariffs going to stop someone from committing suicide?
Can you explain? You said retaliatory tariffs. First of all, some of our tariffs are retaliatory.
We're going to come back
but
to that.
Second, why do you think they would implement retaliatory tariffs? Why would they do tariffs? What's their logic?
Because politicians don't understand. Politicians don't understand economics. It's not ridiculous. A lot of politicians don't understand economics. They're stupid. And two, politicians are in democratic countries. They're subject to their voters. Voters have an anti-foreign bias, a zero-sum bias, and an anti-market bias. Tariffs are where all three of those come together. They think that trade is zero-sum when in fact trade is mutually beneficial. They're anti-foreign, as in they think foreign goods are cheaper quality. When in reality, if they were, they wouldn't be buying them. Their revealed preferences to buy imported goods. And what was the other one? The anti-market bias. They're more likely to think of themselves as the victim of this market interaction than the beneficiary.
Yeah, and so I'm going to move the topic. Hold on.
It's been declining for the last 20 years. Are you aware of how serious of an issue this is? You're acting it's just whatever, just happening.
What's been declining?
I want to come back to that. As the content brain in me just can't resist coming back to this thing that just happened, which is tariffs causing suicides via the laissez-faire economic theory. Wick, go ahead. You seem to have some thoughts on tariffs.
You mentioned that 70 work hour week employees will commit suicide, and he's tying this. I'm not sure. That's why I asked for clarification, but we didn't get to go down to it. That tariffs would somehow stop that?
Intellectual property theft and other I've already named multiple
other. Tariffs don't stop intellectual property theft either.
I was giving you the most salacious one, but that's what Trump was aiming with the China tariffs to prevent. He was fighting against intellectual property theft. It didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. That was the one Trump tariff that didn't actually work. I admitted that right up in front in my introduction. Every other one I'd say was a success.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, I think what's worse than being exploited by capitalism is not being exploited by capitalism. You can say we can use tariffs to not buy from slave-made, sweatshop goods or whatever, but they're just not going to have a job then. You're removing literally the best option. The reason people work in sweatshops is because the sweatshops provide a higher standard of living than the other areas around them.
Nice justification for slavery. Let's bring that back too, because that would fit your argument. What the fuck?
I think that's justification. I think it's justification for free exchange, not slavery. Slavery is not free exchange.
Look, if we want to stop evil around the world, there are ways to stop evil around the world, right? we can do that without using tariffs.
Sure, but
Well,
the same
okay.
thing.
Well, okay.
Yes,
Actually,
we
let's
also
talk. Let's
understand-
talk. Let's talk about that, right? So, all right. I kind of was wanting this point to be brought up a little earlier, and we didn't really touch on it. Like, could somebody say, could Trump claim a win? For example, is there a scenario in general where Trump could claim a win if, say, like he used the tariff, and because like Mexico, for example, is our biggest trading partner, right? Canada's our second biggest. Now China is our third biggest, right? And part of that's because Trump went so against them, in his term. If he said, "Hey, Mexico, I'm going to put a 25% tariff on you if you don't do X, Y, Z," and then they actually stop the migrant caravans at the southern border, and he doesn't implement the tariff, could the threat of the tariff or actually putting a tariff on them until they do this and like them doing it, would that be considered a win if he was able to do it, even if there was some kind of economic hardship that came in the short term? Or like, what
If
would
you're
y'all consider
asking,
that a
can
win?
I imagine scenarios where it works? Yes, I can. But I can imagine a lot of things. I can imagine a situation where you have a communist country that feeds its people, but in practice, that doesn't happen, right? Like, I can imagine a lot of things that don't actually happen in practice. And so, yes, can I imagine it? Yes. Is there a possibility I'm wrong here? Yeah, sure. But I don't think I am. And again, not just from a economic perspective, but I think from a moral perspective. Tariffs and free trade is good, and tariffs and protectionism is bad. It's anti-choice.
So should we scold other countries that tariff our goods,
Yes.
and that's how we should just approach it?
Yeah,
we
scold?
shouldn't. We
Not
should just
just
scold
scold,
them. Just be like,
but
please
we-
stop tariffing us. We
Here's
promise
what,
we'll
the
not
biggest
you.
price
No
that a country that
difference.
tariffs us can pay is they don't get to do business with us, and their economy suffers because of it. Spain
Okay, well,
traditionally
this is-
was an empire that, because they implemented so many tariffs, turned into a second-rate nothing.
There's only
So-
so many mechanisms the president has at their disposal. So if Congress doesn't like the president, if the president ignores a congressional rule, one of the mechanisms that Congress has at their disposal to punish the president is the power of the purse. They can not fund certain elements of the executive branch, basically rendering them inert, unless the employees want to come in and work for free. This is effectively is working for the same way. The tariffs are using to punish bad actors, not and an economic. You're right. Yes, it does hurt economically, but so does pretty much everything the government does. And unless we're arguing for anarcho-capitalism, which would be the
But it's who gets hurt that's important here, Tyler. It's who
that
gets hurt,
short
Whether or not it's a
term-
net benefit.
right? We can
When
look
we
at
see
who's
short-term
paying the
prices
costs. It's
when
not
we
the-
see short-term prices go up because American manufacturing has either not caught up or doesn't exist for these products, that short-term is we know that that's going to happen. That's what's opening the market for other manufacturing. That's the whole point. And if they try to pass off the whole tariff to the customer, that's going to open the market. If they want to eat it, then maybe they don't open the market. They can keep their low prices, but they're going to be eating the tariff. So either way, we benefit.
we
Go ahead.
benefit. I will be paying more
Because
for
we're-
groceries,
yeah, no,
right?
for
I will be
your
paying more
goods
for
overseas.
products, and so will you.
But the money
Right?
won't be going overseas. It will be staying
Hey,
in the
but Kyle,
economy.
we
So even
discussed
if it's
this last time. You
it's-
don't know how to balance the payments works at all, which is why you're so fucking scared of actually engaging with any like economic argument with me, because you don't know shit about it. The money doesn't go overseas. The money either
Dude.
comes back through investment. Do you agree that we have a trade deficit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, the logical implication of that is that money is coming back to the U.S. via financial account surplus.
Hey,
You don't
you think
understand the
it's-
words I just said, so I can break them down for you since you never Google stuff.
Sucked overseas. So like you're not quite the person I'd want to put in charge of this problem. So
Why
respectfully,
is that a bad thing? Why is that a bad thing? Why is that a bad thing?
why is it a bad thing that American manufacturing is going overseas, taking American
justify it,
jobs away? Well,
There are American jobs not in
explain this to
manufacturing. You're
you,
aware of
it's-
that, right?
We're so far away. You're trying to pull you're like a
So
college.
do you
or
think it
something.
protects jobs to put tariffs up to protect manufacturing?
Yes, that's the whole point. It's
The
literally the
entire-
whole point.
Hold on, we
is
lose
tariffs.
jobs.
We want
Tariffs
to
cost
improve
us jobs.
improve American manufacturing space in this in the competitive
Wait,
space.
no, we
for the
know
market.
this is true.
the
Like
whole point.
we lost jobs net, right? Net lost to jobs. Almost
Every single
time
study I've
tariffs
seen.
have been
That's what I've been
implemented.
saying. We've been losing and hemorrhaging jobs in the manufacturing.
Because we
we
This is
keep
lose
what-
doing
jobs from the tariffs.
tariffs.
We lose it. The entire point of
Maybe
tariffs is to take resources.
intelligently. Like I said, we have to. There's more nuance to this. You're just saying tariffs don't work
No,
because
oh
one
my
thing
God.
you do
Literally-
doesn't work.
Yep, but literally the entire point of tariffs is to take resources being devoted to other things, resources which are providing jobs, by the way, and shift them towards producing a less productive thing, something that could be imported for cheaper.
I don't even understand what you're saying with that, but go ahead.
Tyler, go
We
ahead.
understand that you don't understand. We get it. That's why you have the position you do, because you don't understand what we're saying. We know. You've told us this entire time.
In 2018, and now tariffs don't work, even though every government uses them across the world. They've been used for hundreds of years as a negotiating tactic. And then you guys went on Google and discovered the whole world is wrong.
You can't engage with anything because you don't have the knowledge to. This is absolutely insane. You should Google Greg Mankiw interdependence and gains from trade because you don't have a basic understanding of how this works. You agree?
So you can pull up some statistic. You are literally the least interesting.
I'm not
person
citing
on this entire
statistics.
panel. Nothing. I can't stop laughing at the voice cracks.
All right,
Yeah,
Tyler,
thank you.
go ahead.
The reason you won't engage is because you literally don't understand anything, and anyone with literally a voice crack, puberty, high school understanding of economics knows why you're full of shit.
Imagine
Tyler,
getting beaten by this guy, by the way. It's shameful. No offense, non-violent. Shameful. But
he made a pretty solid point in there that got glossed over. He was talking about when you implement a tariff, you get a higher inter-country velocity of money because that money is circulating more. Now, your counterpoint was that money does leave the country, but it ends up coming back more often in investment. You are correct. But if you just stop the equation there, you're right. If you continue to look, that investment means that foreign company owns U.S. manufacturing, and they're making and taking more money out of the economy. So that
Manufacturing that wouldn't have happened without the investment. So I still think it's a net benefit.
Necessarily, that is a guess. So that manufacturing could have also come from U.S. If the tariff would actually make that more likely. When Wick's saying is a loss of jobs, yes, Wick, you're correct. If we're going to take a U.S.-based company that's producing and manufacturing here and offshore it to another country, you're able to actually have significantly more jobs from that country. You may have to downsize if you keep them in the U.S. because we have a high cost of labor, because we have high worker protections and worker rights.
it's not just that. It's not just that.
It's
opportunity
also,
costs.
We get like, for example, a tariff on a steel import. Let's use that for example. There are plenty of businesses who are export businesses, right? And they have to downsize because they can't afford it, right?
For sure, yeah.
And then just adding on to that, speaking of, currency exchange, by the way, tariffs also appreciate the dollar. They make the dollar more expensive for other countries, which means other countries can buy less exports. It follows from logic. You're, supplying less dollars because you're buying less imports. And also we have empirical evidence that back this up. There was a big IMF study that found that, 151 countries from 1963 to 2014 found that tariffs have very small effects on trade deficits because of exchange rate appreciation.
You are correct about pretty much what you guys are saying here. That
we know
said,
we've been correct this entire night. Yes. Thank you for acknowledging it. Thank you for recognizing it. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. I said you're doing a pretty damn good job earlier bringing up just the cons. If you're making a very
Can I read something that you wrote to me earlier, that you were going to end my whole career?
Oh, I was just pissing. Yeah. I looked forward to
that was the comment that was said, and it seems like it's not going that way right now.
Yeah, in private, it like beforehand, he's all like, "I'm going to end your whole career," and tonight he's like, "You're just correct. You're so correct, Wick. Wick, you're the most correct on this. You're just doing such a damn good job. Wow."
I
Man,
can't get a between you guys yelling over each other, to be completely honest. So that all being said, now tariffs again. You're pigeonholing what is a successful tariff based on just economics, when in reality, you're saying at the same time, tariffs don't really give you an economic benefit. They don't. We're giving you multiple.
I will give you one economic benefit from tariffs. $5 from grassroots hegemon to say these populists keep twisting themselves into pretzels to make sure I have more money to give you super chats. So yes, you advocating for tariffs is making me money. I agree.
My issue is like a lot of people like.
You talk like 10 times as much of me so far. Let me finish my point.
Sure.
Okay. So, Rick, again, fuck, you cut me off with your super chat.
What I'm doing is I'm making you look bad in front of your niece, and I apologize for that. I'm sorry. She's going to think less of you now. She's going to be like, wow, Uncle, you embarrassed yourself, right, live. Now I can't take you seriously as a man. Yeah.
So, again, I can give you situations where tariffs are deflationary or work against inflation. Deflationary is not the right word. Where they work against inflation, where you have a higher velocity of money within the country, you see increased productivity. I'm giving you situations where Trump used these specific tariffs to get different policies passed. None of these points have been rejected at all.
Hold on.
So, like, you're saying your body and me here, you haven't argued back a single one of my points.
You keep
I mean,
making
I'll
points
argue
that are
with some of the
not
things, but I think like
adjacent to the topic.
my
Go ahead.
big issue is that so many people treat tariffs like Pentuple here, which is why he won't engage, as like a magic bullet that's like good for the economy and also might do these like other
not said
special things.
repeatedly. Said you have to implement them intelligently and strategically, and you have to account for a lot of different variables.
Imagine thinking that putting a 25% tariff on Mexico, which will decrease and hurt Mexico, imagine that will decrease immigration.
I wonder if that's why they come to the table
right?
engaging on this immigration thing.
No, it will simply make it more likely that there's economic devastation south of the border, which will make it more likely that you'll have more immigrants trying to flee to America.
You're going to allow economic devastation rather than engage with this issue?
Net immigration from Mexico has been zero for 2 decades. It's countries south of Mexico that they're allowing to walk through their country without applying for asylum. We don't want to get into the border stuff. That's where my expertise lie more. A lot of these people are Mexico turning a blind eye to criminals, allowing them to come through, turning a blind eye to caravans that come from countries to the south of them. So it isn't just Mexico's hardships, it's South American countries for the most part at a big rate bringing these people. So just to say, like, a tariff on Mexico probably won't go into effect because I guarantee you whoever he threatens with these tariffs is going to come to the table, which they always have.
Okay.
Go ahead, not Ron. Yeah.
Can I real quick? I want to push back on like the productivity point you made. My understanding is that free trade is basically mechanistically pro productivity. It increases productivity because there's gains from specialization. You're allowed to specialize in producing one thing, and the other country specializes in producing another thing, and you can all actually get more altogether by trading than if you just produced both things yourself. And again, that IMF study, 151 countries, 1962 to 2014, found that tariffs reduced productivity as well. So
I don't think anyone here is anti-free trade. Saying that you want to fight back against people using unfair
tariffs are anti-free trade.
Yeah, so are regulations. So you would favor regulation?
Depends on the regulation.
What regulation?
Yes, that's a yes. You are in favor of them. Then that means you're anti-free trade by your own standard. Anytime you impede the market on any level, it works against the laissez-faire system. But there's positives to having worker protections, to having wages, to having all sorts of things.
Okay, but those positives outweigh.
I mean, I agree.
Of tariffs.
Exactly. It's a net benefit.
There are regulations that we can look at, that we can track, that we can say, hey, this has led overall to an abundance of wealth in this nation, right? An abundance of safety in this nation, abundance of productivity in this nation. We can't do the same for tariffs.
Well, let's talk about a point like kind of Pentuple kind of made. Y'all made a pretty good argument of why the negatives, all the cons, everything. But here's kind of a question I'm kind of wondering: why, like, if it's also always bad, or the great majority of the time bad, why is it that for hundreds of years countries have used this as a means? Like, if it's just so bad all this time, wouldn't they have just stopped using it as a tactic?
People are stupid.
Part of it is like people are stupid. They don't listen to David Ricardo. And then part of it is that tariffs were really easy to implement back in the day. It was really hard to do income tax back in the day, but now it's easier to do income tax, and tariffs were way easier back then.
You said one of the drawbacks of tariffs is that we'll expect retaliatory tariffs, right? Is that a logical response for a country to do retaliatory tariffs?
Nope, it's bad for them too.
Yeah, it's not a logical response, but it's an expected, but it's a stupid thing to do, right?
Yeah, like so you want to talk about the farmers that had to be subsidized because of Trump's tariffs. Like,
if you were looking at this situation with Japan, for example, where they put a tariff on our cars such that we don't sell our cars in their markets, but they sell their cars in our markets, are you saying like
that tariff is going to hurt them?
I'm just saying if we could either both have 100 or both have 0, right? That's free trade. It's not fair if one of us is doing it and the others isn't. So you're just saying you want the end up.
It's not fair. That's a value judgment. But my position is that even if Japan has if
WIC, do you want it to be 0-0 is what you're saying? Is that 100-100 is different than 0-0 and that's way preferable? Because to me, it's almost like no difference. If they don't want to do trade with us, that's fine. If they want to do trade with us, it can't be one-way tariff and then we're just going to like let them get away with that. So how would you respond to it?
So
What would you do?
If I had a country, right, and again, I'm not an economics expert, so I might be wrong here. This could be the wrong answer. But if I had a country that comes in and says, hey, we are going to not allow you to export your goods into our country, but we're going to import our goods into your country, right? Then I would simply let it happen because it will benefit us and hurt them.
Okay.
Not
Pentapple,
broadcast,
can you
we're
explain-
making
That's
broadcast.
just simple. Right?
I was
I mean-
basically making the same argument. My position is that regardless of what other countries do, it's a net benefit to the U.S. to engage in essentially unilateral free trade. So even if Japan has 100% tariff, I believe it's a net benefit to
You're
not
just
tariff
arguing
Japan.
that whether we're tariffed or not is just always a net bag. It's always you just say. I mean, you just
I mean,
say
it's
it.
not
You just say
always.
it's negative, and like that's just.
I mean,
it's like I don't know. Okay, you guys think it's a net negative. I don't know why, but okay. I don't think it's
because
cool that
the gain to
Japan is
consumers is greater than the loss to
in
producers
their
is the reason
markets.
why.
Do you think
because
that that's a one-sided deal?
To be clear, I don't think it's always a net negative. I just think almost always it is a net
Well, we
negative.
need to do
So
something to
the reason why it's a net
manufacturing
benefit,
back
the
in
reason why
our-
it's a net
in the
benefit is because
States.
the gain to consumers outweighs the cost to producers.
How do
There
you
are some
guys
jobs lost to
suppose-
trade, but consumer surplus
Look,
increases more than producer surplus.
This is all about incentivizing companies to hire American workers. We want the manufacturing here, not just because like it's cool. Like we want employed people in America. We want like this is important. Well, how do you suppose we stop companies from just constantly producing products overseas and actually get Americans hired again?
We have
I think free trade
mechanisms that we
increases
have
jobs.
used to do this, right? Tax benefits, right? To
The free
hiring
trade is
Americans.
what's
right?
causing right now this hemorrhaging of our manufacturing jobs. What are you guys doing to reverse the trend? It's not working right now. We have to do something.
Why do we need
This
to
is
reverse
the
that?
point. This is why Trump won. This is why you guys lost the election. How long is this going to take for you guys to just understand that
we
we're doing
lost the election
you
because
failed.
we went.
You guys have already failed.
Hold on,
You guys have
no.
overseen the hemorrhaging
We
of
lost the
manufacturing.
election because after
Pentapple won't engage
2012,
this
we
because you
went
can't
left on
answer this.
crime, immigration, and
You
drugs.
guys have been supporting the people destroying it.
Let me
And guns, I'm
reframe
sorry.
this. Let me
Crime,
reframe
immigration,
this.
and guns. We went left after 2012, and that's why we were losing in elections, and that sucks.
So-
but it is what it is. It has nothing to do with NAFTA, free trade, any of that, right? It has nothing to do
Well-
with tariffs. It has crime, immigration, guns.
Well,
and the
I'm a
Democrats
schoolish
decided
I
to
disagree
go
with
too
that.
far
I
It's
left
nice
on
to
that.
meet you. I'm just kidding.
I think the immigration for sure, and some of those other ones for sure. Rick. I think the economy, and I think tariffs speak to the economy. I think the righties have kind of touched on this a little bit in this, but they haven't really dived into it. Why is it that, say, if tariffs don't work, right? Why is it that we see like places? Let's use Japan for example. Japan has a pretty high tax on like U.S. cars. Why don't we see the U.S. making inroads in Japan with their car market? While over here, it seems that since we don't have tariffs on Japan, they're able to take advantage of that situation and have. I mean, everybody drives. There's tons of Toyotas. I see tons of commercial every day. I see Nissan. I mean, I could be wrong. One of these could be American if I say the wrong one. But there's a lot of foreign cars. It seems like in their case, tariffs are working. Why would y'all not consider that a win, like for tariffs?
I don't know what you mean by working. I agree. Like our cars can't be sold there if there's tariffs on them, but I think that hurts them. I think they would benefit from buying American cars. I also think Americans would benefit from that.
Well, yeah, I agree. Americans would benefit from other countries buying our cars, but doesn't it seem like it incentivizes them not to? If you have a tariff, or not to even be sold over there, wouldn't you say that's an effective tariff in Japan's case, where they're taxing American cars with a tariff, and then they're producing more there, and then we're basically not tariffing them? You don't see, like that's kind of the point Pentapple was making, I believe, is that they're sitting here.
No, I think it costs Japan productivity. I think it costs Japan jobs. I think it costs Japanese consumers.
This just doesn't make
Wait,
sense.
Pentapple won't engage with this because he doesn't understand it.
American companies. You're talking about entering a market, and it's like if DraftKings goes into Texas, is that good for DraftKings? It's like obviously having access to more market is a plus for an American company. What do you mean?
I agree. I also think it's a plus for Japan.
They're cool
which is why
cars. Fucking horrible take.
Hold on. Again, because we're
go
talking
ahead.
about fair economics a lot here, and a lot of times it's not. So what a more realistic situation would be is a foreign company selling cars, tariffing ours, and then coming into our market and undercutting our car prices, hurting our jobs here. We see our car manufacturing output go down, thus the amount of jobs we have in the United States go down because we can't compete with these unfair markets that don't pay their
doesn't
laborers
follow.
right. That doesn't.
Well,
I mean, it does absolutely 100%. You can't look.
Our
at
jobs will go down. It'll probably increase jobs in other sectors, though. In fact, again, the
Now
entire
workers have access to cheaper cars, which they can use to drive to their other jobs, and they don't have to pay excessive costs that they would had tariffs been implemented.
Look at OSHA versus worker protections in China and tell me that it's even remotely the same. They don't have.
That's not my position.
I'm telling you, my position.
It's cheaper though. That's it's cheaper.
My position is that it's a net benefit for the U.S. to engage in trade, regardless of what other countries do. That includes regardless of the regulations. So long as there's a relative price difference that differs from domestic opportunity cost, there are gains from trade to be had. It doesn't matter if they get there from regulations or from subsidizing the industries.
Oh my, dude, filibustering the same thing over and over.
I'm not filibustering.
I've already addressed your argument. Regulations, sanctions.
Your argument, Tyler, is just that regulations can sometimes be good, and I don't disagree with that. But we're arguing about a specific thing, which is tariffs, which we can demonstrate overall are not effective for what they are trying to do. They have a negligible effect on domestic product growth, right?
Migrant protection protocols.
I address those.
Put in place because of the tariffs.
Your mic's messing up. I can't understand you.
Stay in Mexico. Mexico has been very clear. They did not want to stay in Mexico. Trump forced their hand with the tariffs to implement the migrant protection protocols. This is well documented. As soon as Biden pulled away,
and we paid too high a cost for that.
We did.
We've paid too high a cost doing nothing.
Hold on. No, are you talking about the 2018 tariffs? Okay, I again, we have data on this. The 2018 tariffs cost us jobs, cost us money, cost us wages, raised inflation. I don't know what to tell you.
Let me finish my point. This tariff was never implemented. It was a threat. You're talking about the steel tariffs that were used for USMCA. I'm talking about hypothetical threatened tariffs that were used to get a country.
So tariffs that don't happen work better than tariffs that do? Interesting.
That's what I'm saying. They're not always used to be implemented. They're a negotiation time to bring people to the table saying, look, we need this. Here's the reason you're going to do it, because you're going to suffer financial consequences if you don't do something. That's the point. Yes, we are not intending to implement all of these tariffs. A lot of these tariffs are intended to say, do this thing that you're not financially incentivized to do until we do this.
Other threats that we can use.
The idea that,
yeah, I mean, if you want to say tariffs only work when they're not implemented, I agree. Like, I don't know what to
that's
tell
your
you.
argument. Tariffs work best when they're not implemented.
Reasons.
Okay, no argument.
All right, hold on. One at a time here. One at a time. All right, Tyler, go ahead, and then we'll come back.
The argument you're giving me is just talking past my point. You keep going to this small version of what you say is a win. This is like saying nobody uses it. Civil rights is a net benefit to our economy, or a net negative to our economy. Would you get rid of civil rights? No, because you agree with it. I think $300 billion a year in intellectual property theft. I think people coming through the border illegally, sanctioned by a government that's turning a blind eye, is enough to punish them. Not following the law is enough to punish them. They are being punished with tariffs. Talking about the economic benefits does not refute this argument. It ignores it.
I don't want to get sidetracked, but I think that civil rights is a net benefit to the economy, actually. All
right, 1 second. 1 second. Thank you, Jesse, for the sub. You are the greatest.
I didn't have breakfast yesterday. Type response.
I don't think it actually. I mean, we could get into the
saying if it was a net negative to the economy, we still wouldn't argue to get rid of it. Your response that it was.
Use the word if.
Did you get the point he was making? You didn't get it?
No.
He was saying
statement.
If it was a net negative economically, we still want to negative.
Do you know
That's
what
not the end of the
hypothetical
conversation.
All right, one at a time.
To be clear, I think stuff can be a net negative.
What if you didn't
eat? Can be a net negative to the economy, but outweighed in other things.
I did breakfast yesterday.
All right, hold on. Everybody stop. Nobody can understand. Everybody's, for some reason, maybe it's on my end, every time everybody starts talking, the mics start cutting out, except for Wicks. So
yes, because I'm the only one who has an actual
mic. Is that, by the way?
Yeah,
I need to know what mic that is. Please I will DM you.
So let's try one at a time if we can. I know there's some exchanges, but it starts going, that's no different.
Let me just kind of be a little more concise, perhaps, right? The argument from my opponents here is that these tariffs are not to be actually implemented, but they are more of a threat, more of a tool to punish if they don't follow through the threat. My argument is that we can use other means that we don't look feckless when we don't follow through on it, they decide to call our bluff. Right? We can use other
I'm-
threats, other means, other mechanisms. Tariffs don't work. And if your best argument is that, well, they're used as a threat, so we're not actually going to do them, I mean, that's an argument
No,
you can make.
that's totally
But it is what it is.
totally
And
not what we've been
$50
arguing.
from
We've
grassroots
been saying
hegemon
it
to
can't
say,
be
I have a
used
lot
as
of
a
people brighter than me
situation.
as friends who are economists, and the only thing they agree on is that tariffs are piss. Thank you for the
Dude,
$50.
You
And yeah, $50 says I'm right. The free
you
market is
can
spoken.
implement
Fuck
tariffs
off.
to collect revenue. You can implement tariffs to remove products from the market. You can also use tariffs to bring people to the negotiation table because it would be financially damaging for them to not engage with, like, the border issue, for example. We're giving them a financial incentive to force their hand. We have the ability to do that. We don't have to suffer with this open border forever. Mexico can help. We need them to step up and help. If they're not going to do that, we need to not be handing them access to our markets.
At what
It's
point
really
would you
that
say
simple.
it's a failure?
You have to do it intelligently. You keep saying, "Oh, well, then if you think it all
Okay,
goes
but at what point, like, say, let's real world here.
for tariffs in
At
different
what point
places.
would you
It's
say
intelligent and strategic.
that
It's
Trump
nuanced.
hasn't worked? That
That's
it
why
hasn't
you
worked?
won't understand it if you're just on Google right now.
Trump
Well,
doesn't even know what a tariff is, so I don't know why you trust him to strategically implement it.
You said is this your best argument?
I have not seen a single clip of Trump accurately describing what a tariff is.
You didn't even know that American manufacturing has been hemorrhaged. You asked me why it was
I
even a
do
bad
know
thing.
that.
You have literally no spot at this table. Like, the fact that you're even in this, you're below this Discord.
You're scared of
stream,
me
dude.
because you don't actually understand any economics. It's the issue.
Gibbs is the most
I
generous.
can tell you why it's not necessarily good to bring American manufacturing back. I can also tell you manufacturing productivity has gone up a lot, so U.S. manufacturing output has actually increased, although manufacturing employment has decreased. There's an opportunity to cost to everything. Everyone making a car is someone not making an iPhone. iPhones are generally more productive. Like, the market accounts for this really well. The market makes sure that the factors of production flow to their most profitable use case. I don't see why the government should intervene on our liberty to import and make us all overall worse off and less productive. Like, you have no good argument for that.
Just to play.
Get rid of every single regulation and law. I agree.
I think.
No, hold on. Just because we pointing to a specific law and say it's bad doesn't mean we want to get rid of all laws. Just because we're pointing to a specific regulation or a specific tool and saying it's bad doesn't mean we want to give away all our tools. What is this argument? This is ridiculous. We are looking at tariffs specifically, and we were saying specifically tariffs, when implemented, have a net harm and effect on our economy, and it's not worth it, even when they're used as a bargaining chip and a threat to try to get other countries to the bargaining table. It just does not work.
There's no way to quantify it, and the only way you're trying to is looking at the economic impact. So you're saying our argument is just tariffs are being used as a threat. You know where we got that from is the guy implementing the tariffs. We're using his actual words and his actual actions to construct our argument.
And I'm looking at the actual results of what he has done, and we're measuring it by the tool that people care about. And this is a tool people care about. This is what the voter cares about. Can I afford that product? And if the answer is no, then they don't buy it.
I got it. Here, go ahead, Todd.
Yeah. So again, you can argue that tariffs don't have a net economic benefit. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. For the most part, he's not either. Neither is Trump. Trump was the only time he said it wasn't was when he would remove taxes and replace it with tariffs, which is a whole different subject, whole different argument. Theoretical, would be fun to talk about. We haven't even gotten there yet. Trump is saying he's using these tariffs as a negotiating tool to get other concessions out of the country. And I'm giving you examples where it has worked. And every time I have, all of them go unaddressed. Literally, the migrant protection protocols were put in place because of a threat, according to Trump.
According to Trump is the key words there. They were doing this anyway.
Dude, they were implemented.
Also,
they were not in favor of the migrant protection
also,
protocols. It came out against
Trump
them.
just hates the trade deficit.
Even if you don't believe it's why, it doesn't mean it wasn't. So we'll take the W on the issue anyway. But, like, it's that is how these things work.
Hold on. Calm down. God damn. All right, listen. Okay. What is the counter argument you want addressed before you turn into Bob the Tomato?
The migrant.
I just said it. Tariffs are not used as economic policy. They're used to punish, they're used to negotiate, and they've worked. Migrant protection protocols worked. They were only in place because of the tariff threat.
All right. What is y'all's response to that?
Sure.
Let's start. With
I just
non-Ron,
think
then we're
that's
gonna-
bullshit because I don't think
Alright,
it was
wait,
implemented because of the tariffs threat. I just don't think it was.
Then what do you think motivated?
The evidence that
Implemented.
you
Trump
hold on,
just hates the
hold on.
trade
The
deficit.
evidence that you
Trump
were
has gone on
presented to
record
me
of not
is
liking the
Trump
trade deficit
said
at
it.
all.
Trump said it. Yeah, I need more than
Alright.
that, buddy.
Go ahead,
So
Tyler.
what do you think motivated them then? Glick?
They said
What?
no, he threatened the tariff. They said yes. And then as soon as it was gone,
You know
as soon
what?
as the tariff was
I
gone,
had a show on
yeah.
Matt Gaetz on how he was a kid diddler, and then he dropped out. It must have been because of my show.
Mm.
Same
Correlated.
same
Dude,
logic.
Correlated.
Same as
Thing
saying
happened.
that Trump
I did a
country
thing.
with
Thing
tariffs wouldn't
resulted.
motivate
Yeah,
government
it
to
must have been true,
Just a
right?
coincidence, Mexico
I
did
was
it.
feeling sad, and then I looked out the window, and there was rain, and now I'm happy, and these are things are connected.
Mexican government.
So,
You guys are silly.
all right. We got some time. I'll be
That was
asking.
bad.
Let's examine this
I know
thought
better than
exercise
that.
that was just presented here by Tyler. You can dive into this to start, Tyler, since that is something I did want to talk about. Texas has recently declared they're going to get rid of income tax by 2025. Trump, I guess, liked that idea, and he wants to get rid of income tax as well. And he's argued possibly doing it with tariffs. All right, Tyler, you want to talk about that? Let's. I know before pre-World War II, most countries gained most of their income from tariffs. What are your thoughts on this proposal of implementing more tariffs, get rid of income tax? Would that be a
Can
good
we
idea?
all give our thoughts on this proposal? I'll
yeah,
let
we're
him go.
absolutely
I'm
gonna,
just-
we're gonna
I
go
want
in
to
a circle.
turn.
No,
Go ahead.
Nick, no.
We'll go in a circle. I'll start with Tyler.
It could be super interesting. So what we'd see in this instance, what a tariff essentially does is it takes extra money from somebody that's buying a foreign good. So what we could see is a massive economic boom in our localized industry, a higher velocity of money in country. It could be good. I don't know. I took a couple economics classes in college and I kind of look into it for fun. I don't know enough about making these projections. What I would see is if we implemented these tariffs, we probably get retaliatory tariffs back from the country. That alone would cause the cost of our goods to drop just based on a higher supply and a lower set of demand. So it'd be interesting, man. I need somebody more equipped to run down the data with me, but I don't see any reason against it if they could find a sound plan for it, at least to try it. He won, so why not?
Let's go non-front. We'll go opposite way last time. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Trump hates a trade deficit. He's not just using this as threat. He hates a trade deficit because he doesn't understand it. But also, like I linked a tweet from him. But also, the income tax thing. First of all, tariffs just can't raise as much revenue as income tax. The revenue maximizing point of tariffs is probably like 40%. That only raises like $500 billion. Income tax raises $2.2 trillion. Secondly, tariffs are a regressive tax. Income tax is a progressive tax. Tariffs tax poor people more, both because it's a flat tax, so it's a percentage of their income. Poor people are hurt more. And two, because poor people spend more of their income on imported goods than rich people do. Income tax, I think like the bottom 50% of Americans only pay like $600 in income tax. Like the bottom 50% barely pay income tax. They would pay tariffs.
All right, we'll go to Pentuble. We'll save wait for last. Here you go, Pentuble.
I hate the income tax. I think it sucks. So I would do literally anything to get that trade chip on the table. It's like it's like Justin Jefferson. Any trade offer between us
Would
that
you
gets
suck
me
Admiral Gibbs' dick?
No.
Well, you
That's
said anything,
gross.
right?
I know I did, but like, come on,
you
damn it.
Oh, sorry. Like your niece is here. Come on, this is not fair.
What? No. Look. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I would like to do that. The tariffs thing. I mean, we don't have to replace it with tariffs, but I'd be open to replacing it with anything else. But yeah, and
I do. Before we move to Wiki, I do
Income
find
tax
it
sucks,
interesting
dude.
that with my reputation, he chose to bring his niece to my panel of all the panels to come to. The wildest of the panels. All right, and then Wick, go ahead and give us your thoughts.
If you don't like income tax, I get it, right? No one likes to pay their hard-earned money on stuff, right? It sucks. But just wait till you get a load of what tariffs used as a primary economic
do you think it's gonna be a third of my
giver.
income?
Like yeah. No shot. Like you will be able to afford less.
Okay.
You
do you
will
realize that
make
even
less,
long-term tariffs
right?
implemented would
Can
be
I please?
for American products to enter that market? Like, the tariffs are not always American-made goods won't be
I'll wait
affected
till
by
you're
this.
done, and then I'll...
Every single product is coming from overseas. And a lot of the competition in these industries has American-made products and foreign-made products. These tariffs aren't going to just be like, no, you don't have the product. A lot of the times, people are just going to buy the American product now. Like, you're acting like we're just like,
the American product will be more expensive because the resources
It'll
that
be
they
more
use to make
expensive.
that product will be more expensive
Hold on,
because
go.
tariffs will make it more expensive for them to buy the
American
resources they
product
use to make the product. Ah!
Why does a company not paying the tariff increase their price?
But they
Well,
are going to
because
be
there's more
paying the
demand for
tariffs
them
because
domestically.
they
The entire
get their-
point of a tariff is to induce investment caused by the higher price that producers can now pay. Two, you're reducing price competition. Part of the reason prices in America are low is because they're competing against foreign competitors.
In a lot of cases,
if you get rid of that competition,
and there are a lot of products that we can't make in
a lot of
America,
cases,
such as
there's
coffee,
already
right? You can't grow
American
coffee in America, right?
products on the shelves already. Right, already. There's ready to go. This is what we're saying. There's already in nearly every we could list different types of goods.
Again,
but what I'm
the
saying
idea
is nearly
of
every
removing
category,
income tax for all the reasons
American-made
that
goods
Namfon
already on
mentioned,
the shelves. This
it's
is
going
not
to
every
cost-
single analysis of this is
cost
going to
you
be
more money.
an
You're going to
input
make
onto an
less
industry.
money.
We have no domestic manufacturing.
You'll be able to afford
So
less.
you're saying we're all going to have to suck and pay the prices of tariffs. The whole point is that no,
Yes.
we're not. We're going to stop buying the Chinese goods and start buying the American ones to avoid the
But
tariffs.
the American
We're
ones
gonna
are going to be
avoid
more
the tariffs.
expensive because
the
it's
American
made
ones are
by
going to be more expensive
resources
and
from
it's a higher
overseas.
opportunity cost.
Hold on, let me ask this.
That's
We
the
don't
thing,
have the
Asian
industrial base for
manufacturing in
this.
the country. You guys have no ability to zoom out and see this problem, and it's like no wonder you guys are no longer in charge. You're so confused why we would vote for a convicted
Who do you
felon
think
over you.
I'm no longer in charge, motherfucker. I have people in my chat, right, who have dinner with Ivanka Trump. If you think I am someone who isn't in charge still, I am the deep state, okay? I am the one whispering in the ears that get things done. I am the one pulling the strings. So you can, sit down.
It's you.
Yeah,
It's been
I
you
mean-
this whole time.
True.
Yeah, it's him, bro.
You're
I
welcome,
mean,
okay?
You.
I
This
am the
entire time.
CIA. Okay.
I
I'm
believe
a
it.
liberal.
I don't know what you just said, but are you the
I'm
Riddler? Is that
a
what you
liberal.
said?
I like Dick Cheney and shit.
Yeah. Well,
I don't like
know about all.
Dick Cheney. I think he's
Yeah, so I mean, let's come back to this point y'all were just debating, right? Because part of like one of the arguments that I've always heard made for tariffs is that you will increase manufacturing, right? There's been an argument. I saw Trump lay this out in his
doesn't happen.
economic plan, right? He argued that hey, it's going to be an initial little bit painful, and then you're going to have the investment and the growth as the stuff is built here. It's a long, wonderful thing. You'll see immediate benefits from new jobs created, et cetera, et cetera. Are y'all saying, without a doubt, there's not going to be this sort of
It
investment?
hasn't happened in the past. I have no reason to believe it would happen now.
It depends on what you tariff and it depends on the
It's
scope of
never
them. I
happened
don't
in
think
the past. It's never happened in
I
the
don't-
past.
Not in 90% of the cases, no.
Not from.
Yeah, I don't think tariffing inputs and intermediate goods is going to bring manufacturing back. I also think tariffs discourage exports as much as they discourage imports, and that hurts manufacturing as well. I also think any manufacturing we do bring back is a net cost because the loss to consumers is greater than the gain to producers, and there's a super large opportunity cost. Pentuple's laughing because he doesn't have a very basic understanding of comparative advantage. Oh, he's deaf and he's not even listening. He doesn't have an understanding of comparative advantage. So.
I just say,
Does he have a stranger
100%.
in his room too? Oh no, it looks like you're in his room, Namfon. Sorry.
Tariffing 100% of a company that moves their jobs to Mexico, sure, they might have to downsize if they stay in the United States. We might lose some jobs, but overall, that's saving jobs and not letting them go to Mexico. Saving it.
Nope.
I would argue it is, absolutely. So they're going to just close the company. They were about to just build a whole new plant
Not
in
required.
Mexico.
Yeah, a lot of
No,
times
but
they
resources that otherwise would have been devoted to doing other things to produce other jobs are now being
Just
devoted
not-
to
Well,
are now being
Well,
devoted
that's
to produce
stupid,
this thing.
Mexico didn't want to do migrant protection protocols. Trump threatens a tariff. They suddenly do want to do migrant protection protocols, and it's all a big coincidence because Rick thinks Trump's is a liar. So
I mean, in that case, like, I'm fine with saying tariffs worked as a threat there. I also think Trump just wants to do tariffs because he doesn't like the trade deficit, as he said multiple times, and because he wants to bring manufacturing back, as he said multiple times as well.
But he also said multiple times that he's doing it for specific purposes. For Mexico, is
Well, let me
specifically
just ask you
let me-
directly,
let me-
Tyler.
let me-
Hold
let
on,
me
hold
check
on,
this
hold on,
in.
hold on. Let me ask
Okay.
Tyler a question
Sure,
directly. Do
And then I wanna
you
change
think
something
that tariffs bring back manufacturing jobs? Generally.
No, in that circumstance that I offered,
So
I
Trump
would say
says that they
no,
do.
absolutely.
Okay. So
They
you
will.
are
I think they
saying
will.
clearly, to be clear,
think they will.
that Trump is wrong when he says that they bring back manufacturing jobs.
No,
I mean,
now,
hold on,
yeah,
hold on. Just to jump in here because you boys are failing the righties here. There are examples historically of tariffs.
Name one.
In 1860.
I don't just pull shit out of my
Okay,
ass and Google
1860 tariff.
midstream.
Fair enough. In 1860, perhaps.
Hey, that's the
give
one
it
that
to
came
you.
out. And
I'll
in
give
fact,
it, no.
it's also
Fair
to
enough.
Tyler's
Point to
hurt slavery.
Gibbs in the 1800s. This might have worked.
Hey,
True.
It's so dumb because
Go ahead.
I don't dispute that they can be used to protect
Oh my
certain jobs,
God.
but all the jobs that they do protect are wasteful because you're using domestic resources to produce something that previously could have been imported cheaper. Well, the domestic resources you were using were doing other things, making actual better, more productive jobs.
So, all right. So this brings me to the question I wanted to bring up, right? So, do y'all agree that we're in a trade war with some of these countries like BRICS? Do y'all think that we are in what we'd call a trade war?
Yes,
not there.
I think
I would
that
say
we
we're
have
not.
engaged in. I don't know if we're. Yeah, we have engaged in trade wars with these countries. Yes, that's just true.
We're doing tit for tats. I don't think they're technically considered trade wars yet, but I am not the one that makes those definitions.
Okay,
But I
whatever
just
you
want
want to
to
call
Would
it.
you
Right?
sure? Would you say they're anti? All right. Let's broaden it a
Trade
little
special military operations.
Yeah.
Okay.
bit. Sure. Yeah.
Trade
exactly.
war.
I think we're getting lost in the weeds here. Would y'all say these are countries that are like antagonistic towards us and they use economic policies such as tariffs against us? Would y'all say that that's a true statement?
I think that a lot of times they try to
I-
bait us into
sometimes.
using tariffs against ourselves, right? But yeah, no, yes, I guess conceptually you are correct that they try to use trade policies in order to benefit them and hurt others.
So okay, so this needs to be it's a two-part question here. So right, recently there was a report put out by the Pentagon saying that one of the biggest issues the United States is going to have if we were to go to war with China is we have a lack of shipbuilding, and that's due to a lack of domestic manufacturing. Could you see how maybe a tariff would hurt the United States in like an economic sense, like short term with the money, but it would help us in building our like maybe say our military or manufacturing in a way like so we get a win basically in defensively as
Sure.
opposed to
But
do you agree with that assessment?
only if manufacturing was actually buoyed up by these. But again, we can look at the data here. Tariffs don't generally lead to that. They don't generally lead to a boost in
Well, tariffs
manufacturing
don't, but an
domestically.
increased in demand for American-made products does. I mean, you guys are just like you guys just imagine that market forces disappear. If you have these tariffs, even if the American manufacturing doesn't exist, or they transition over from some other product, like Nadfon said, these are just market forces at work.
Hold on. I don't know what you think I'm disputing, Quintuple. You're not acknowledging that these jobs are
You
wasteful.
were saying
Also,
some weird
I
shit
wanna
like
answer.
they'd be more valuable producing some other good. The whole point is increasing the
Yes,
demand for the
opportunity cost.
American-made product to compete in the
Correct.
market against foreign-made products who can undercut us because of the labor cost.
So,
And for other reasons.
Hold on,
There's a lot of other
opportunity
reasons.
cost to that.
Let me
Is the
ask-
whole point.
Let me
What the
rephrase it.
opportunity? Did you just say random fucking words?
Hold on, let me-
You don't know what opportunity
pointless
cost is?
member
Those
of this
resources
entire
could have otherwise
panel.
been
I don't
sent to
think
other
you will
things.
ever say anything interesting to me.
I'm gonna pause there. Like, hold on.
I wish all of
Engage
your
with
time was
Square
given to
doesn't know
Wick.
basic
Hold on,
economics.
I
hold on.
That's what's
genuinely wish
happening.
Wick had all of your time. I
I'm
feel
gonna
like
mute
Gibbs
people.
is
I'm gonna
being
mute
way
people.
too generous.
Well, hold on. Let me reframe this again because we got. I don't know what that was, but we can come back to it. I have a question, right? Who here is a favor of the like CHIPS Act or basically producing more chips here in the United States? Everybody here likes that,
Yes.
right? In general, okay. So this is a case to me where I feel like, say we put a tariff on, I don't know, Chinese semiconductors and Chinese chips, which would produce more manufacturing in the United States. Would that not be a good thing then, non-front? I feel like because you're the one who's been arguing, hey, we could buy it cheaper from China possibly, and we can focus our industry somewhere else. Do you see how this could be a danger to the United States if, say, hey, we don't have any chip manufacturing because we've been buying it cheaper from Taiwan and Taiwan gets conquered or something? Like, what do you have?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a few cases where the national security concern it overcomes the economic cost with semiconductors and with batteries. I think we should both tariff those from China like a lot. I will say
Really?
I don't think tariffs are particularly effective again because they hurt exports too. They hurt manufacturing in certain ways, depending on the scope of them and depending on what you tariff exactly. I also think a lot of times tax credits are better. That's what the CHIPS Act had tax incentive financing. It gave tax credits. That way you incentivize companies to actually produce here rather than just produce somewhere else. Because if you just tariff China, then they just move to Japan, which can be good sometimes.
Yeah.
That being said, when you do things like the CHIPS Act, you're picking winners and losers. What we saw with Solyndra is a lot of times it's not good economically to dump a ton of money into a company that wasn't going to make it on its own. A lot of these companies fail. So I would say the CHIPS Act's not good for the economy, so ignore everything else and get rid of it, right?
That's not my position. My position is that certain things that are bad for the economy can still be net benefits. I think tariffs are bad for the economy and don't have any other benefits to counteract that.
Yes.
And also, I agree.
If
this does
tariffs
choose
make
winners and
things
losers, just like
remarkably
free trade
better
has winners and losers.
for enough people, it would outweigh the costs, right? But they don't, right?
The
They
steel
don't.
industry is my go-to example. During NAFTA, we had China, who not only is outbidding us on levels of what they can pay their rates for their employees because they don't have human rights and treat their people like shit, but also they can artificially inflate and deflate their currency. They can stockpile goods using taxpayer money to pay the companies back, stockpile the goods, and then flood the market with extremely cheap steel. So when they were flooding the U.S. markets with extremely cheap steel, what happened to U.S. manufacturing? It plummeted. These tariffs against China and against Mexico and Canada to stop Chinese steel from coming to the United States potentially could have saved steel manufacturing in the United States. I can show you the data on it right now. I have it pulled up in front of me.
Okay, so I mean, like, one, I think the dumping with China could happen for some things, but steel is a very high fixed cost industry, so it makes sense sometimes to sell below your fixed cost if you can cover your variable cost. But also, like, I think all these things are a net benefit to the U.S. If China has lower labor regulations and they can produce stuff, that's high labor intensity more efficiently than the U.S. can because of that, then that's a net benefit for the U.S. to specialize in things that are, like iPhones, and for China to specialize in actually the final assembly of the iPhones, because that's very labor intensive.
I just want to
because I don't think slavery is a net benefit.
They don't have human rights, so let's use them and let people die. I'm a left winger. That's against my moral code. Sorry.
I mean, again, the only thing worse than being exploited by capitalism is not being exploited by capitalism. By tariffing them, you're removing the best option that they have. And then two, I don't think slavery is free exchange. You're literally owning someone. That, like, this is free exchange for the most part. Obviously, China has restrictions on their end that make it a little less free exchange. But
or we don't give them jobs and they say our economic conditions suck. Let's overthrow this country, as opposed to, well, they're giving us jobs, so something must be working. I guess it's all right.
I mean, I think that's a very risky bet to take. But okay.
But that's what economic sanctions are for. Literally, the point of economic sanctions is to cause economic turmoil, so the populace
use sanctions rather.
That's the point in some of them, but like with Russia, like we also sanction their oligarchs, so their oligarchs in theory can have say over Putin.
You're right. I did oversell sanctions to what purpose? You're fair. That's fair.
Yeah, and
what was the question? Sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it. You look like you had something ready there.
Here's the deal, right? Like the CHIPS Act specifically, we recognize that we weren't producing a thing that we needed desperately to produce domestically because of security concerns, and so we invested directly in the infrastructure and the industrial capacity to do that, right? By providing tax subsidies and other methods to do that, right? That's the way to go about it. When we have a product or a resource that we don't have domestically, but we want to produce domestically, there are ways to do that, and I'm not against those ways in a lot of cases. When we're talking about specifically tariffs, again, for all the reasons we've been over and over and over and over, it's just not the way. It's just not helpful. There are other ways to do the same thing that don't have the negatives that tariffs do.
I argue they don't have the same strengths either.
What, okay, so let me ask this. So y'all mentioned sanctions. What other tools y'all have that y'all have in your playbooks? Okay, well, so I guess that's not
tax incentives.
Hold on with the tax incentives.
So
that's
I'll give you an example. If you want more American jobs, give companies a tax break for hiring American workers.
We already do that.
Yes, we should do it more with more things.
Do it more. Just do it to the max.
Sure, why not?
How do tax incentives stop China from dumping?
I'm not against it. Look, I agree. And look, I'll just make the point. I think for the pro tariff side on this, we're open. Look, this isn't like a passionate pillar of like a political belief. We're open minded to different approaches and different ideas. But I think what we need to acknowledge is that manufacturing in our country is being shipped overseas. We need to create that demand for the manufacturing here again. And we think tariffs is a way to do it. That's what we're going to do because we won the election. Election does have consequences. So we will be doing it, and we'll get to see if your prediction comes true. But ultimately, it's not that we are going to die on this hill if you are correct. If we learn and things change, we'll adjust the approach, and I will accordingly. But you haven't presented your better idea yet.
Pentuple,
think
your
he
mind
You
will.
haven't
might be open
presented
'cause you
your
don't
better
understand
idea
it.
yet.
No, hold
I
on,
think
hold on,
tariffs
hold on.
work.
No, not fine.
Pentuple.
Just a moment, because I want to introduce this, right? I want not introduce, but I want to kind of put a pin in this, right? Because I honestly don't think you will. I think what you will do is you will try to spin whatever happens as a political win for Trump. That's
Well,
what
if we
will
get
happen.
if manufacturing jobs in the U.S. go up, I will consider it a success. I think that is. This is interesting. I think that we should establish on this
If it
panel
does
what all
go
of us
up,
would agree
but
is a
then you
measure
have
of
to pay
success
double
for
that's what
tariffs.
cost.
to do
In
here.
one of the cases, which is
that a
Chinese
success?
manufacturing, these tariffs are designed to help improve the demand for American manufactured products. That's how I'm going to judge it. So, like, we do have I think we can come up with some sort of objective measure by how we're going to measure the success of this tariffs, whether it's used as a threat, whether it's used to collect revenue,
Well,
whether it's used
I'm
to
asking
open
you
up the
directly.
market.
I'm asking
However
you
it's
directly,
implemented,
man. Like if
that's the
if-
judge. That's what I'm saying.
Let's give you. Let's say we get 500,000 new manufacturing jobs in the U.S. Good,
Hell
right?
yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
paying double for the car, or not even double. We're paying
Well, double. I don't know if it'll be
25% more
double,
for.
but I will. Yeah,
product.
I would happily
that a
pay more
win?
if it means that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The price going
I
up is not
just
an
don't
immediate
agree.
loss.
We don't need jobs.
No, because the
we
market
need
forces
cheap
are still in
goods.
play. Is what I'm saying. The market forces are still in play. I'm not going to pay too much if the prices domestically don't work. Then people aren't going to buy it. They're going to have to. They're still going to have to compete in the market. That's why I say you guys are acting like the market forces disappear when these things happen.
I'm
The
not
market
acting
forces
like
don't
that. You
disappear.
don't understand.
But what I'm saying is that
you
they
don't
will work.
understand you literally do not understand enough to know why that's not the case. Can you define opportunity cost? Do you know what that is?
Isn't
Do you have a
this nice,
concept of what
guys?
that is? Can you, or do you not know?
His point is somewhat solid if you're talking about.
Wait, no, don't let him escape. No. Can you, Pentuple, please? I need to know. Can you define opportunity cost? He's deafened.
He's talking to his street.
Okay.
He does have a point. If you're talking about elastic products in the market, we have all sorts of competition. We have knockoff brands. We have all sorts of things. He does have a point. Now, if you're talking about inelastic products, then your point rings true. So, but he is onto something here. This is probably one of his first better points, I think.
Again,
Pentuple, hold
I
on,
don't
let me-
dispute that this
Pentuple,
can
do
be
you-
used to bring.
Hold on a second. Non-Fron wants you to explain opportunity cost, Pentuple.
Why am I explaining opportunity? He's the one who's been repeating it all night. Why doesn't he tell me what that means
I mean, I
and how
can
he
tell you
breaks
what
that
it is.
down? Please do. You've been the one saying it all night as if it's just a slam dunk. I don't know what you're talking about. Please explain.
Yeah, because most people
we
have a
know
concept of
you
it.
don't
It's the
understand.
cost
But
of the-
go ahead.
I know what generally opportunity cost means. You're just explain. What is
We
this
don't
like?
believe
Like,
you
oh,
do.
get off your fucking horse! Wait, don't do this.
We
You know
don't
better
believe
than
you
to act
do.
like
We're
that.
just asking you to tell us.
Opportunity cost, don't you know? And like, no, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I know what the words mean. Like, what are you trying to do right now? This is the worst performance from the left wing I've ever seen, and it is in part why you guys lost the election so badly. You guys didn't even think it was fathomable we'd win the popular vote, but then you make arguments so bad like this.
Yeah,
You don't know what I mean by opportunity cost. Of course, tariffs won't work.
So, okay, Pentuple, do you acknowledge that the resources being used to promote American manufacturing could have otherwise been used to do other things, right? You acknowledge that, right? Or do you not know what that means? Do I need to break it down?
Please tell me what opportunity cost means and what you mean by that and why you just say it.
Opportunity cost is the cost of the next best alternatives for your resources. So every factor, production, land, labor, capital, ideas that goes to American manufacturing.
This is my 13th reason.
Is land, labor, capital
Goodbye.
ideas that didn't go to something else, like research and development.
Yeah, this argument doesn't make sense because we're hemorrhaging manufacturing jobs. We don't have like no issue where manufacturing jobs aren't leaving. Manufacturing jobs are leaving the America. They're leaving America. So we don't have just like an equilibrium on manufacturing jobs where it's like all the manufacturing potential has been reached. That is what you're arguing. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I agree. We're losing
not my
manufacturing
panel,
jobs.
Peter.
I think
Okay.
that's a great thing.
Do you? Because I don't think you knew that until you Googled it 20 minutes ago.
Well, Professor
That's not
Me,
true
I
at
wish
all.
I could, but it's not my show.
I don't
This
dispute
is
this
Gibbs'
at all.
show.
And I
I'm
agree,
just-
tariffs can be used sometimes
guess.
to bring certain manufacturing jobs back. I just think that, again, that's
That's what we've been arguing this
Tell you
whole
what, after
time.
this, I'll
Alright,
do a call-in show, right? And you guys can call in.
Let's
And
readjust. Let's
resources-
reframe. I think that we did touch on something I've been trying to kind of get around, and nobody's been really biting. Let's go back to how do we define a win on tariffs? Wick said here basically he thinks that Pentuple and probably most righties are going to just spin whatever Trump does as a win.
Yes.
Like, maybe
I propose an objective measure.
Yeah,
The objective measure being manufacturing jobs.
I think that's a poor
That's
measure.
the whole point. We can measure those. We do measure those. That's how we know they're leaving.
Well, hold on.
leaving.
Let me just finish this here because I know that non-fraud here is not going to pick that. And like you're arguing manufacturing, I would personally just I'll jump in here for a second. I personally would define the threat of the tariff getting something done like as a win. Like for example, if Trump came in and was like, hey, I got them basically to squash migration at the southern Mexican border for 25%, like with the threat of 25% tariffs. So he didn't have to implement them. I would call that a win, right? Or if he, other things like say he implemented a tariff on China and we can't use Chinese, steel, and it forced us to start Chinese shipbuilding and we had to build ships here or something. I don't know. I can see specific scenarios where like the national security y'all granted me counts as a win, or the immigration issue counts as a win. But it doesn't seem to me that like y'all or the left is wanting to grant the majority of those. How are y'all willing to define these as a win? We can start with Pentemple since you seem to have the manufacturing jobs started.
Yeah, I think that we can judge this based on whether manufacturing jobs start returning to the U.S., whether we can effectively increase the demand for American-made products that's are currently being manufactured, some that aren't being manufactured right now. Like I said, this is very nuanced. It has to be implemented strategically and intelligently. Some products that we shouldn't tariff because we need them. Like all of these immediate questions that you have when we talk about it are going to be addressed. Like we're going to be paying people in our government a lot of money to figure out and sort through those nuanced things. So what we're really talking about is whether the tariff approach will work. I think the tariff approach will work. I think it'll be effective at bringing back manufacturing jobs. I think it'll be effective at getting Mexico to work with us on the border. I think that they're an effective tool for any president to use in foreign policy. I think it's just like it's kind of it's surprising we're arguing it. I think it's because you guys hate Trump so much, but that's just how I feel about it. It's just like tariffs work, we should use them, and like we have to use them intelligently. We can't just throw a dart at the board and say 10% tariff to this product. It's got to be done right.
I've given you examples.
I know you can give me examples because you're googling it in real time.
That I've been against, such as the one from Obama in 2012. I've given you examples of other Republican president tariffs that I don't like, such as the 2002 tariff by Bush. Right. So to explain this because I don't.
That's what I'm saying. You could convince me on all of these. You could convince me on all of those points, but that doesn't mean that tariffs are bad. And Trump is a bit of a departure from previous administrations. Would you admit that there's like a little bit of a shakeup happening when Trump enters the White House than when the previous 5 administrations have? This
is true. But Trump also
he does things a lot differently. I think Trump threatening tariff. I think there's a difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden threatening a 25% tariff. I think the threat coming from Trump is more seriously taken than maybe it would be by Joe Biden. So like there's a lot of factors that are okay. Different presidents have different levels of credibility. I mean, you guys can make the argument that Donald Trump doesn't carry any credibility worldwide. I'm just saying there's so many variables that when you're trying to convince me that tariffs just don't work, we shouldn't use them as a tool. These aren't good arguments to make for why they don't work, because you found one time we implemented a tariff that doesn't work. Even if this other president did the same approach, it doesn't give, and it's not a given that it's going to have the exact same outcome. Things have changed in the last 2 years. Things have changed in the last 4 years. Things have changed in the last 3 weeks for you guys.
They were the bad commies. We will implement communism in a way that will feed the people.
In a way, yeah. I mean, it sounds ridiculous when you put it that way, but in a way, yeah. This is a tool. I think that Trump's going to use these tools better than the administrations of the past. That's the whole reason I support him, is because he's a departure from the status quo of government. So, like, in a way, yes, it sounds ridiculous when you put it that way, but yeah, I do think that Trump is going to be able to use these tools in a different way than George W. Bush did, and that Joe Biden has, or that Kamala would have. I don't know, like, what the point is. Yeah, it's like, yes.
I don't have an issue with saying that insofar as tariffs can be used to achieve a goal that I think is good, then that's a good thing. But you don't know enough about the economic cost of tariffs.
Oh my God.
To say that. You don't understand enough about the tool itself to know why it's good or bad. Like,
dude, why do you pull this card? It's like the most disgraceful, most laughable disgusting thing for you to pull this card.
Who doesn't know anything about this, so I can own you easily on it. That's the answer.
You have not owned anything. You asked me if American manufacturing was declining because you hadn't Googled it yet for the debate. Like I can't even imagine me putting you on a panel. This is insane.
It's horrible.
It's honestly embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You literally said for one of your arguments that Donald Trump doesn't know what tariffs are. How am I supposed to take you seriously? How am I supposed to care about anything you have to say when you make such stupid claims?
Is there a single clip of Donald Trump accurately describing what a tariff is?
yeah,
Donald Trump knows what a tariff is. This is the hubris of like a 16-year-old fucking child. It's embarrassing.
Hold on. I want to mute you. Hold on. Pause.
Oh my god! I just realized why you're so dumb.
Pause, and then we're gonna get some order here. Just a show of hands, quick show of hands. Who here thinks that Donald Trump knows what a tariff is? Just a quick show of hands.
I mean, I think he knows, but he's
Dude, just take the L on the debate if you have to resort to saying that the president of the United States doesn't know what a tariff is. Just take the L, dude.
Is there a single clip of him accurately describing what a tariff is?
Single clip? Dude, yeah, because you're... Dude, I can't stop with the fucking voice
I will say this.
Go on Google.
If
You love Google. Yes, I've seen Trump talk about tariffs. Yes, I've seen him discuss tariffs. Go on Google. What is this? You have the hubris of a child. It is so fucking goofy.
I need to say this.
Oh my
Everyone
god.
stop. The YouTube gifts, just stop for a moment. Just stop for a moment. Here's the thing. If Trump believes that tariffs will have a net positive impact on bringing manufacturing jobs back to America, then no, he doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to tariffs.
What about hold on.
How does it not bring jobs back when you create a marketplace where those goods cost more than the American-made goods? Now you have a market demand for the American-made goods.
Hold on.
Can I run through an example of you real quick?
Stop.
I have genuinely no interest in anything you say.
You got to be less beta, Gibbs.
I got
use your big boy voice.
I got it muted. I'm muted. I'm gonna get my question in. Wick.
Notice he didn't.
So, all right,
me.
you said if you think it's because of manufacturing. Do you think it's because? Do you think would you grant him the the Mexico situation if he uses? Do you think he understands what a tariff is if he's like, hey, I'm going to use it to stop him from letting migrants cross their southern border?
I think if he's using it as a threat and it works, then fair enough. But I think there are better ways to accomplish the same goal, and I don't believe it worked in the.
Hold on, we're gonna go to Tyler.
Propose one.
I want to go to Tyler. Tyler, go ahead. What?
The same question. Absolutely. Well, that's my whole argument is that these aren't being used as an economic tool generally to make the economy better, and they're not being proposed as that either. I'd like to go back to a question you asked Wick earlier. What policies would you put in place specifically to stop the flood of cheap Chinese steel coming in from Mexico and Canada?
I'm not an economist. I would hire economists to do that for me.
I mean,
I don't have an issue with that. I think that's based.
No, you don't Google search.
I agree.
I would hire an economist to do that for me. I don't think I'm qualified.
Would you hire the same economists who have been overseeing this for the last 20 years?
Do you think economists have been overseeing the tariffs for the last 20 years?
No, I'm just saying that they all the people that are making the arguments you have been referencing these fucking experts. So yeah, I want to know what's the deal. What's their track record?
You can look it up, but you'd have to Google.
On Comparative,
I'm sure Nonfon's got it up already. I'm sure he's got it up already.
We have empirical studies on comparative advantage. If you want to run through them, I understand you probably.
Let me ask this question then.
Empirical studies. I sound smart because I said empirical studies.
Okay. So anyway, I don't know how to go with that, but I think that Pit Temple does touch on a good point, which is that the Trump team is supposed to be like outsiders, right? And economists seem to have kind of put from many of the MAGA people's perspective, have put the United States economy in the shitter, right? I mean, how long have we heard this policy from the Dems is going to do this and whatever? So I see this as an outsider coming. How do you use this argument? Like, how do you justify which economists we're listening to? How do you argue like that? You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of what he's getting at with that question.
That the idea that a lot of people believe the economists have failed us and put in this situation, is that what you're trying to get me?
Yeah, because I feel like they're looking for outside.
Well, this is like an institutional discussion, institutional problem, and I think that the reason that people believe tariffs work is a far different question. Because I think you're right when you say that people believe tariffs will do a thing or X thing. And that's true amongst a large portion of the populace. A large portion of the populace believes tariffs will have a benefit to manufacturing in America. But here's the thing. The data shows that that's not the case, and that's not true. Now, I think a lot of institutions, not just economists, but science, academia, etc., have shot themselves in the foot by lying to the American public, and that's an own goal that they have to deal with. They have to re-win the trust. But on tariffs specifically, this is something from left, right, and center, from economist hobbyists to economist PhDs. across the board say that while in certain specific instances targeted tariffs might work, blanket tariffs like the ones proposed by Trump simply won't.
All right, thoughts? Right, yeah, thoughts on this?
I
The
mean,
blanketed tariffs
there's more consensus on free trade with economists than like any other subject. It's also hilarious to me. Pentuple's making fun of experts, and he can't even define opportunity cost. He doesn't know what the balance of payments
I'm
is.
asking you to define it for the purposes of what you're using it for. I know what opportunity cost
did
means, but you
define
can't
it.
just say opportunity. Oh my god, you can't just say opportunity
I
cost and
literally
then just
did when
like
you asked me
pretend
to.
like I'm a retard because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah, you
it's
do
the
have to actually
it's
explain the terms you're using them in the context that you're using them. Opportunity cost. Are you kidding me, dude? This is such a. This is really
I mean,
the
I literally
debate.
did
Like, this
define
is
it
your
when you asked.
approach
It's
to the
the cost
debate.
of,
Just
like, the
Trump
next
doesn't know what a
best
tariff
alternative
is.
for your resources.
Opportunity cost. You know, net negative. Do you know what net negative means? Do you even know what net? Can you describe what net negative means?
Well, hold on.
It's
If we
very
have to, I
single
got a
clip.
Black's Law dictionary behind me. We can start looking up the legal terms. But thankfully, we only got 5 minutes here. So here's what we're gonna do for this last closing five. What we're gonna do, I want to hear y'all's closing arguments. Who started this? Let's start with let's go with Tyler. You can start us off again here. With closing
All right,
arguments here.
I there was a bit of a disconnect between me and my debate partner here. I did not argue the economic benefit of tariffs. I completely conceded that one up front. And I don't think they're being used other than the theory crafting of getting rid of taxes and going back to an older system. I don't think they're being used for economic benefit. We know what they're being used for. We were told there's a better way to do it. We just, when asked for a single example, none were provided. I would say that tariffs are a lighter version of what sanctions do. And we implement sanctions all the time without regarding any sort of effects on it. So I would say that the bad actors that we put these tariffs on, or at least the threats of them, were doing things that everyone agrees were bad. And even if you don't agree, if you think Mexico just disagreed with this tariff and disagreed with stay in Mexico, and then one day changed their mind, and then just one day changed it back, and it's all a big coincidence, I guess I can't really fault you for that. But the facts look like it was Trump's tariffs that did it. So I'm going to go with Trump is using his tariffs effectively, and they are benefiting the American worker. And in a lot of ways, they look more like something John Fetterman or Bernie Sanders would do. So, as somebody of the left, I generally like them.
All right. Let's go to Non-Fraud. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think anyone provided any good arguments for tariffs being net benefits. I mean, I agree insofar as tariffs aren't actually implemented and just can be used as a threat to achieve an outcome. I think it's good. They can be good. I think Trump just hates the trade deficit though. Trump, there's not a single clip of Trump accurately describing what a tariff is. Also, the economists around Trump think that imports subtract from GDP. That is not true. So I do not trust him to import or to implement them strategically. The Pentuple does not know enough about economics to actually engage in this conversation. That's why he's scared. He is scared of a 19-year-old online suitor expert who has never had a girlfriend. That is who he's running from. Okay. I'll end by citing the conclusion of that IMF study that I have cited before. 151 countries from 1963 to 2014. We find that tariff increases led to economically and statistically significant declines in domestic output and productivity. Tariff increases also resulted in more unemployment, higher inequality, and real exchange rate appreciation, but only small effects on trade balances. We have empirical studies. We have the models to back it up. They don't have anything.
All right. I'll let Pentuple go next and respond to that.
Get tariffed, nerds. We won. Suck it up. We're gonna win. We're gonna get manufacturing back, and you're just gonna have to watch and learn, I guess. So spurg out on Google. Have fun.
All right. Wick, go ahead.
Sure. I guess to quickly respond to that, the democracy is the idea that the people know what they want and they deserve to get it good and hard, and we will get it good and hard.
Good and hard, baby. That's right.
I don't know if Trump will actually implement the thing he does, the things he said. We'll have to see whether or not he actually implements the tariffs, the 25% tariffs on Canada, and just blanket tariffs across the board on goods from Mexico. I don't know if he will, but my argument here is if he does, it will be devastating to our economy, not just theirs. It might hurt theirs too, but we will lose jobs overall. It will be a net cost to us overall. The economic benefits it will receive will pale in comparison. Tariffs breed a culture of corruption. If you want to drain the swamp, tariffs are not the way to do that. Tariffs encourage lobbyists who lobby the government and pay money for exemptions for their companies so that they can outcompete their competitors.
Well, those are bad.
Yeah, those are very bad, right?
Those are bad.
if I could finish my closing thoughts.
Sorry, sorry.
Right, uninterrupted, if I may. Right. So here's the deal. At the end of the day, we have a wealth of data to show that free trade has brought our country and the world out of poverty. Right. We did used to rely on tariffs and other import taxes and other such things throughout much of our history of the world for hundreds of years, but never in the history of the world have we had a higher standard of living across the board than we do today. And that is in large part because of our transition to free trade, the World Trade Organization, and global interconnectivity. And I just don't want to see us slip back or fall back. Tariffs bad, free trade good. Wick TV is where you can find me. And I won't charge you anything for being here, but if you've enjoyed the show, hit the like button and subscribe button. I love you all. Gibbs, thank you for hosting. That's my thoughts.
No problem. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was gonna let
Thank
y'all
you,
give outros.
Gibbs.
I was gonna let y'all give outros after that, but you also. It looks like there's a couple people that want to get in on this as an open. I'm going to respect all y'all's time. Then you have to stay. But since Wick gave an outro, let's give everybody else outros. We'll go backwards with the order here. Temple, if you want to give an outro.
Ben Temple TV on Twitch and YouTube. And that's the. I don't have a tagline. I was going to make one up, but I don't have one. I'll see you there.
Fantastic. Non-fun.
I stream on YouTube at Nonfon, NONFON, and Twitch at Nonfon420. You can go to my YouTube and watch me debate a bunch of other people about tariffs.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tyler.
My name's the Omni Liberal on Twitter. You can check me out at destiny.gg if you'd like. And otherwise, it was fun. I always have fun with Wick.
All right. Fantastic. Now, I did have some people calling us cowards because they wanted to get in. One of them apparently knows Wick. I don't know, but they wanted to talk about this. If y'all want to stick around, I will also give my thoughts on this.
I can't stay too long, but
y'all are more than welcome
I can
to
say like
stay.
10 minutes maybe.
All right. So anybody that wanted to get in, now's
You
your
got
time.
10 minutes to call me slurs.
Yeah. Just jump
So
into Discord.
Can I say, like, honestly,
Please.
don't bring your kid to these things, man. Like, or your niece or whatever.
Her
It's not
parents
good.
swear. They said they were. I warned them of what would happen. They said they were cool with it.
I'm not gonna. It's not gonna stop me from saying curse words. I'm just gonna be like, wow, you knew it was gonna happen and you brought them anyway.
I asked her mom. Her mom said it's okay.
Okay. Just don't. I don't like it.
It was a tactic, I guess. I don't know.
She loves this. I'm happy that she's.
My audience is asking how do they jump in? Like, can you give me a link?
They could just join my Discord here. I will give you the link directly, or I think I posted it in the group chat, and they can just join any voice chat, and I'll move them in.
I don't know. We're from New York, man. We all fucking swear a lot. I don't know. It's like normal for me.
Yeah, just join any VC, and then y'all can come in here and give us your thoughts. And
again, I don't got too long.
Yeah, people got to leave. I'll give mine. I think it's the targeting ones. Trump is this interesting thing, I think, and this is not really fair for us in the debatosphere. But Trump, like I heard someone complaining recently. It was a lefty. I don't remember who it was specifically complaining, basically that Trump will say something, and all these other Republicans and righties will sit here and kind of say whatever they thought. Their interpretation. Like, oh, he's probably going to do this, even though he said this hyperbolic thing. And unfortunately, and I will admit this as someone that's, I guess, more MAGA adjacent than others, I think that's true. I think Trump does say pretty wild stuff, and then he's like, all right, here, we'll get into the specifics later, but I also feel like he's just politics personified to the max, right? I think politicians always are hyperbolic, and then they tone it back in legislation time or executive order time. So yeah, I don't know if it's great for the debate sphere that he'll be like, yeah, 20 million people, and then he's probably going to do something less than that, but who knows? But all right, Professor Meat, you had thoughts, I hear.
What's up, Bill? Yeah, I'm just going to be real quick. I wanted to say this to the other guy, but hopefully he'll still make his way to him, or he's watching or something. So, all right, here's the thing with tariffs, right? Tariffs can work, right? The way tariffs work, basically, for bringing jobs to America, is what you're going to do is you're going to identify something, for example, that we're buying from other places, and then you put a tariff on that, and then it incentivizes people to make it in America because it would be cheaper or comparable enough that you might as well make it in America, right? That's the whole process. That's how you use tariffs to bring jobs to America. There's two problems, right? Well, actually, there's one problem with that, and then one other thing I'll say in just a second. The problem with that, all right, is that we're like on the verge of a labor shortage if we're not already. Like unemployment is insanely low. Bringing more jobs to America is only good if we're in need of jobs. Otherwise, it just causes problems and it doesn't bring us any benefit. So there's just not. Could you use tariffs to bring manufacturing jobs to America? Potentially. Could that help? Potentially. Will it help if we do it now? No. There's not any. It only helps when you need jobs. When you need jobs, we're not in need of jobs. The other thing I'll say is there was an interesting point made earlier. And this is a minor thing. That's mainly all I want to say. But very quickly, a minor thing that was said earlier. It was an interesting point I hadn't thought of before. Someone was talking about I think it was maybe a parallel drawn to the CHIPS Act of like national security needs for like chip manufacturing and stuff. This is an interesting point. But the thing is tariffs still don't actually help that problem, because if the way that tariffs bring manufacturing to America is by removing incentives from pursuing them elsewhere, so that they then those people that are seeking to purchase or manufacture those things then just do it in America instead. If that's the goal, but we're in a situation where we A, aren't manufacturing in America as it is, and B, are not solving this problem by buying the ships from somewhere else or outsourcing the manufacturing. Tariffs, there is no industry to move to America. We are not buying the ships. We aren't outsourcing the production. The tariff will have no effect in that regard. So that's all I want to say.
He's actually, I didn't want to god pile on my partner there, but in fact, most of the reason manufacturing jobs have left the United States is because of innovation. And not because the jobs are gone now, not because they went overseas. And I didn't want to dogpile on them for that, but yeah, you're right.
And I mean, it helps at like, listen, I'm gonna say something. I don't know. I'm just gonna be crass in how I say this. When we have like rising standards and like rising I'm sure we've all heard this talking point from Destiny or whatever, like about like
I promise you I haven't, so it's going to be a new one for me.
Okay, sure. All right, there's manufacturing and then there's assembly or whatever. There's making a product that's further down the line of, you manufacture this and this and this, and then you use those components to make this, and then somewhere down the line you're like assembling a whole bunch of components to like make a car, for example. This is way downstream of steel manufacturing, right? It's like we're having these like way higher level, like better paying like jobs in America. And this is more and more of what constitutes like quote unquote manufacturing or industry in America. If there's all these other countries with like shithole fucking standards for their workers that will pay them way less, and we want to give a whole bunch of jobs to them, it just helps everybody. We don't want to fucking compete with them by lowering the quality of work in America. And if we're not in need of jobs, we have no reason to do so anyway. Like, it's just good for everyone. If we're not in need of jobs, it's just good for everyone that we outsource these manufacturing jobs to other places that will do it more cheaply and get paid more than they would be getting paid otherwise in the alternatives in those countries. So that's all. That's my thoughts. He's not here anymore, so I feel a little silly just coming in, and I don't think anyone disagrees with me.
I always like to talk to you, Professor Meat, and I appreciate you. So
yeah,
I appreciate it, y'all.
Bye.
Yeah, all right. Well, that seems like that was the main one that I was being told.
There's a bunch of people who said wanted to get in.
Oh, if they want to get in here, come on.
You've got like
get another 5 minutes or so.
Well, they all wanted to yell at Pentuple, so.
Yeah, another thing that about the China tariffs, I was just whispering Wick about this. The result of the China tariffs was not that jobs came back to the United States. They went to neighboring countries to China. They went to different countries in Southwest Asia or Southeast Asia that didn't have tariffs on them. So the manufacturing jobs that are there are staying there. The ones we lost were because of technology. So is what it is.
Yeah, do you think labor standards were improved in China because of the tariffs? I don't think that's happened historically, but
No, I think that historically slavery was ended because the United States put trade, clamped down on people in ways that can loosely be expressed as tariffs. But again, if we sanction, a sanction is a 100% not doing trade with that country at all. It's more
and we recognize there's a cost to it, and we do it in extremis when we think that they violated some court of
do y'all think sanctions work?
Strategic thing. Yes and no.
Sometimes
we sanction for all sorts of shit. We sanction
a lot of times.
We thought Maduro did a bad election, and we sanctioned the fuck out of Venezuela, and there was no violence.
I mean, sanctions can work, but a lot of times they don't. It really depends. Targeted.
We got another one. Another contender here.
Oh, new person. Hello.
Howdy. You're on.
Oh,
I
hey,
got
what's up?
2 more minutes, so just FYI.
I don't know if it's gonna work honestly, but I do think the left kind of lost their mind on this one. Um, yeah, all these job things and all these trying to bring manufacturing thing used to be a leftist thing. It used to be our side of the thing, and I I've heard Bernie say that we abandoned manufacturing, we abandoned the working man, and I don't think we should get rid of all the other policies that's like pretty far left, but I think we do have to actually
It's not a.
workers' rights. We have to care about like
No one else is talking, right? It's not just on my end.
No, it's you don't hear him. It
I
follows.
hear him. I hear him. Fine.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, it's on your end. Go ahead, Fal. Sorry.
My bad. Okay, I fix it.
Anyways, yeah, I do think we kind of lost our mind. The left on as far as caring about the working class. I think I don't know if tariffs is the answer. I don't know if it's gonna fix it, but I've been in plants. I've seen like the layoffs and the dread of like plants closing down and uh saying eggs are gonna be cheaper isn't really gonna make up for those lost jobs. We have to
Tariffs
do
won't bring them
something.
back, man. Like I care about workers' rights, and if I thought tariffs would improve workers' rights, then I'd be for tariffs. But they don't.
And I do think that's
Straight up.
a
Like
point
they
I
don't.
saw Tim Ryan make actually about tariffs was some of the Trump tariffs made more sense, and that's why Biden kept some of them around. And some of them were kind of like, if you're gonna make guacamole cost more, that we're not gonna manufacture it here anyways. But if you're talking like tariffs on steel, yeah, that might make a difference. I don't know if it will or not, but uh, if we care about workers' conditions and we care about human rights on the left, we should be wanting manufacturing done in America. I don't understand where the left just kind of went astray on that, but it was like kind of cringeworthy watching everyone just kind of make this like trickle down uh, excuse for like, well, if we make things more expensive, then the goods will be expensive, and it's like we're just selling trickle down economics to the left now, and wondering why it didn't work, and
I
wondering
I agree.
why
These
the
two
left.
went full libertarian in this argument. 100%.
Hey,
Libertarian. We went free trade. Look, Bill Clinton was
full
pro free trade. He
libertarian.
signed NAFTA into law. Like the idea that this is somehow not a leftist thing or not a on the left thing, I should say. I'll make a distinction between Democratic and leftist, right? But yeah,
NAFTA.
NAFTA's
This is where you guys
NAFTA's
missed
great.
out. It was like NAFTA was terrible for the Rust Belt, and those were the swing states this election.
Again,
I mean, it's hard because like it's very easy to see someone
you
who
say
lost their
NAFTA.
job
Hold
because of
on,
free
you say
trade. It's very
NAFTA
hard
was
to see who
terrible for
gained
the
their
Rust
job.
Belt, but while NAFTA was implemented, Obama won the Rust Belt, right? Like Democrats, Bill Clinton won the Rust Belt. Like we had all these presidents that are Democratic that won the Rust Belt.
Yeah,
The
well,
reason we
hold on,
lost the
hold on.
Rust Belt, let me finish because this is salient to the thing. The reason we lost the Rust Belt isn't because of NAFTA or anything of that nature. It's because we went left on immigration, guns, and crime.
I tell the people
Trans issues
on
over
that because they seem to think differently.
Okay,
I'd say it was trans issues over guns, but otherwise I agree.
Sure, we can lump
I
that
think it
in
was
if you'd like.
inflation.
I think
Inflation was
the
the biggest
trans
factor,
issues thing,
absolutely.
you guys are insane for caring about trans issues, man. Just let people do their thing, man.
I'm
care
talking
about
about
libertarians,
elections,
man.
not me.
I mean, I will say this though, like I like just from like the opposite perspective, right? Because he's bringing up the workers' rights, and and y'all brought up like this is why I'm not a libertarian, right? And I've heard y'all argue, like people argue like, oh well, regulations, and I generally don't like regulations, right? Like I think extra safety protocols, fuck that, we can just hire somebody else, right? Like I'm kind of like a extreme capitalist in some regards. However, I'm also like an America first kind of guy. I definitely can see the argument, like, oh, we just force jobs to be here. Well, no, if we're sitting here like not being able to have our cars sold in Japan at like it's 100% tariff, and they're able to sell a Kia here for $99 a month. yeah, that's not fair to American industry. Yes, the market, like, I get your opportunity cost argument, but the market is deciding then, okay, yeah, we could spend money somewhere else, but you're also not buying American. Where's that money go at the end of the day? It goes to Japan. And I can see the argument going, hey, this does hurt. Like, no, I understand the deficit argument where it comes back. You're not gonna temple me, non-fraud. I understand economics in depth. I
As
disagree
an
that.
aside, non-fun, why did you ever... Have you really
What
never
did
had
you
a
piss in his
girlfriend?
Wheaties?
Yeah, I mean, I was just making fun of myself.
You've
now.
never
Yeah.
had a girlfriend. Is that serious?
Oh, thanks for the sub, by the way.
yeah.
He's
I
fucking
appreciate it.
19. That's
We're going to
perfectly
do a
normal.
non-fawn dating stream, okay? So
I
to
like
the
that
ladies
idea.
in my
Happy to do it.
audience, we're going to set non-fawn up here. We've gotten, like, look, Irrelevant met one of his girlfriends on my show. I'm
baby.
not kidding, right? So we can set you up. So here's what we'll do, non-fawn. I'll talk to you, and we'll set something up, and we'll have a dating show like The Bachelor, okay? We'll set it up. It'll be fun.
Happy to do it.
And,
Thank you.
we'll
What
check
a
that
lack
out.
of consent.
No, we'll get the
Non-fun doing
ladies.
Nothing
Okay?
wrong. If you want to stay single, based king.
Do you want to
are
stay
doing
single? Well, let me ask you directly.
Well,
Do you want to stay
Embrace
single?
the hose.
Do you want a girlfriend?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, you want a girlfriend? We'll make this happen. We will change your life, sir. Okay? With that, I gotta go. I love you all. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Okay. Gang. Did you guys enjoy that? Was that fun? It was all right. I like my shows. Okay. No, I'm glad I got a chance to get in there and argue a little bit. How do you think I did? You guys enjoyed my arguments? Did you like me not steel manning, but instead just going in on what I thought? If you enjoy the show, please like button, subscribe button. I do wish I was invited on more podcasts, to be honest with you. I like being able to argue, okay? And without people getting, you're the moderator, you shouldn't be putting your 2 cents in. Nah, shut up. I'll be putting my 2 cents in. But yeah, I don't know. This one was like, this felt unfair. I'm not going to lie. I felt bad at various points beating up on those guys, okay? Just an easy win. But I had the correct position, so, you know, it is what it is. Okay. It was agony. Fair enough. We will see you guys next week. So next week, I got a couple things coming up. Monday, we're going to be having an Elon buys D&D panel. Elon, do you guys know this? Elon Musk has asked and inquired about acquiring Hasbro. So he wants to buy D&D to protect it, right? Will that be good? I don't know. All right, we're going to talk about it. It should be fun. It'd be a nice Monday stream. And then on Tuesday, we're going to have call-in show. Guy wanted to call in and talk to me about mushroom computers. Okay. Thursday, we're having the deportation panel. We're going to talk about Trump's deportation plan. Will it be implemented? Will it be implemented in a way? Will it be good for the country? Yeah, it should be fun. Cool. Everyone happy? Everyone excited? We're just gonna end the stream now. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week, Monday. Have a good weekend. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Bye.